Special project complete.
Oh, dang.
What?
My recording lagged a little bit. I did not catch that. That would have been perfect. Lucky's AI assistant just said that a project was completed.
Yeah, no. Well, it's in the...
He is Stellaris. Yeah, the video version will hold out, but if you're listening to just the audio, you missed that perfect caps. The unfortunate nature of doing things one-to-one.
Situation log updated.
Mother... I can't say that word yet. We're only at 20 seconds, but I am playing FGO and also Arknights while we film, and Dirma just lived through a Benny Enma NP with like 500 HP left, the little butt. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Okay, but hey, hi, welcome to What's Up, the show we do that people sometimes watch. Actually, I either switched to something different than Scott Pilgrim, or the premiere seemed to have worked because we got back to our normal audience penetration last week.
Nice.
So thank you for tuning in. I noticed not a lot of you left comments, but I appreciate you for watching at least.
Huzzah.
So we're back to more of that as usual. And before we get too much farther, I will really quickly remind everybody this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Adam DeHarp, Ahaka Comics, Architect 10, Flexo G, Carlos Qua, Ferris, Jeremy Vasquez, Jonathan Sandoval, Kylie Denton, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Regent Raptor, Rogue Robin, Shawnee P, some guy named Bob, Sodasano424, 723, and Zach Reed. If you like what we do and want to see more, consider supporting Patreon. You can get access to us early on, some goodies, and helps us out. Thank you for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, well, so as you guys can see, if you can see currently, because you might just be doing the audio version, but Lucky's playing Stellaris right now.
Well, you said you wanted to talk about it today, so I was
Oh, yeah, well, so when was it?
It was sometime this week, because I remember I called it out specifically.
Was it Sunday when we missed gaming? Hey, no gaming stories this week.
Anomaly found.
Loth had a bad sleep and was not up for it. And we were like, nah, it's fine, dude.
Sleep.
Because I think I told that story. I also that day narrowly missed a bad sleep. I, went to bed for a couple hours, woke up at, 8 a.m., and then just couldn't settle down for, an hour and a half. I did eventually go back to sleep, but if I'd been operating on, 4 hours of sleep, that would have been a no-go for me. That is not good, GM brain. I mean, is it bad?
What is?
Axe is in a chat. He's saying, is it bad to say I hope this has become the new norm? I mean, depending on the context, it might be in poor taste. I don't think it's necessarily a bad sentiment. But this goes back to the thing we mentioned earlier, where that's a redundant thought. Nobody hopes it becomes the new norm.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to express that one out loud. Anyway, so yeah, no new game stories this week. At least from Star Wars. I don't think I could tell a little about our D&D session because we finally got back after a couple of weeks of weirdness, but that can come later. So Stellaris, I think it was Sunday night. I just fell in the Stellaris hole.
Welcome.
And I was just like, oh, let's actually boot up my game of Stellaris. Because I think this was probably a month ago at this point, but I did actually, like I said before, make a race and start a game to make sure my computer didn't explode. And in fact, guys, my computer does not explode. I can go all the way up to fastest time speed and even watch battles. I don't know if I got crazy with the fleets, if my computer might be like, dude, do you know how many objects you're trying to track right now? But for the moment, it runs okay. Runs better than Civ.
Oh, nice.
Which is interesting considering Civ is turn-based and Stellaris is real-time with pause.
With pause.
But yeah, so I jumped in with my first game of Stellaris ever. I learned some systems. I quickly realized that in addition to the thing we've already talked about, Lucky talked about this at length with, it's one of those Paradox Interactive games. There's a lot of coin flips and random shit. I also quickly realized that Stellaris is one of those games that tells you to do things but doesn't believe in, hyperlinks to immediately take you to those things.
Nope.
At one point I did an archaeological dig because I don't think I realized this at the time, but I set up my first race, Space Elves. It's actually Lasalier, it's the Nordic term for light elves, but it's Space Elves. Deliberate design. I couldn't make full-blown space dwarves because unfortunately there's only 5 humanoid portraits. None of them are short and hairy. I can probably find that mod though. but I forgot that I set them to their origin is they have a gate in their system.
Mm-hmm.
So that always has a quest line that spits out an object you can do an archaeological research on.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that, you get like one minor artifact at the end, and the game is like, hey, you have access to minor artifacts. Look for that under the blah, blah, blah tab. Well, I like missed that line and was like, where the fuck did that go? Because
Yeah, it's the relics.
a completely different tab in a, I would argue, otherwise completely unrelated section of the menu.
Yeah, it's traditions and relics.
Yeah. And it's so, like, there's a lot of those little things where you're like, okay, can you, like, the alerts at the top do take you to stuff fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them aren't annoying. Though it does, the game's very titchy about races in your empire having unspent trait points, even when I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have spent all my trait points.
I do know the problem with that. It's usually you have to confirm and then actually put them in the operation that actually transfers them into the new.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in my case, my latest run-in with that might be that I'm building new robot pop.
And another thing is depending on how your species have development, there might be actually like multiple strains of your species. Like
there are actually a couple of those, but I do think I got all of them to have spent all their points. I'll double check, but that's one of those things that's like, it's not really good at like highlighting the specific problem. It's just like, hey, look at all these species. One of them has a point. Deal with it, nerd. I'm like, okay, thanks. But usually it's like pretty on point. It has a lot of like go-to features and suck you away and track stuff. But it's sometimes it was a little impenetrable, so I played for a little bit. So I played out my initial version of my save with my race for many hours. I want to say a couple of like 4-hour sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I clocked a good couple of days in it before I was like, nah, I don't like this galaxy anymore.
Yeet.
My primary problem was that to me anyway, my galaxy was medium-sized. Again, don't want to, you start small, guys. Don't blow up your computer right away.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those lunatics who is like, let's set it to the highest settings and see what blows up. No. We start small and then we expand. So I did a medium-sized galaxy. I did the default number of fellow empires and fallen empires, etc. And then I quickly realized that I do not like to play Stellaris that way, because what happens is within about five or 6 hours, you realize, oh, everybody has a slice of this pie.
And you're boxed in.
And you're boxed in, because what I really like is the exploration aspect. I like going to new systems, seeing weird shit, getting anomalies, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Running into precursor races. So I was like, okay, I'll make the galaxy bigger. I'll set it to, you can actually randomize how many empires you have. So I'll set it to like randomly like 1 to 4 guys maybe. Make sure to put in a couple of fallen empires. Just because they seem like an interesting thing to run into. And then, go from there. And I focused like way more anomalies, more habitable planets than normal, because I want to be able to like expand and explore and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like I understand the basics of the military system. But I'm also still new enough in the game where, like, immediately in my first game, and I was not geared up to go, like, all right, let's pivot to an army of conquest. There were points even where it was like you pop up in the claim menu and I'd be like, I don't really see a lot of claim options. I'm pretty sure my species doesn't think like this is my problem. So, like, I just ran out of room and was like, nah, man, that's not cool. So I started my second save, and that's the one I'm currently on, which is involving a lot of, like I said, exploring stuff, figuring things out. A lot of surveys, a lot of little quests, digging into my tech tree to finally figure out what's what. Though I did encounter a follow-up thought, which I think I expressed to you last night, which is, man, Fallen Empires are bullshit. Yeah, so I've actually had to use console commands and cheat in my second game because I accidentally pissed off a... what are they, like, holy purifiers or something? No, that's a vanilla empire type. They're a specific type of fallen empire, which is like, don't fuck with my holy world. And I accidentally fucked with the holy world because I found a habitable world, like, right in my zone. And I'm like, oh, this is neat. If I'd already, like, teed off one fallen empire and was like, oh, they just want me to retreat, that's fine. These guys were like, no, their war demands are, yeah, not only do you unsettle, but at least as I interpret it, it's literally all your colonies are destroyed. I'm like, okay, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed. Fuck you, game designers. You can't do that to me. So I just, whenever they get uppity, I enter the console command that makes them unconditionally surrender. Because that is less complex than, like, cheating my way to, like, 5 billion naval power or whatever it would take, because they're really, really dumb strong.
Or
It's one of those things
you
where
can do
I'm
what Lucky did and acquiesce to their demand, and then bide your time, and then build up to the 500 naval power and completely destroy them. I did that.
Oh no, that's what I'm gonna do eventually. It's just that for now, because their war goal is literally all of my colonies are destroyed, like reduce me back to my homeworld. I'm like, no, that's no fun. Fuck you. If you're gonna cheat, I'll cheat, basically. Which honestly, to me, that's what I say. Like, it feels like cheating. It's like, oh, whoa. So if at no point did these guys really explicitly, like, have this convo with me, like, warning me, like, hey, you fucked this up. Like, they did give me an alert when I actually settled. They were like, hey, don't do that. And I could have been like,
construction.
Nah, it's fine. Which I admit I was like, fuck you, you're not the boss of me. Listen, as a player, I'm bad at that. I don't like empires being like, you can't do that. I'm like, fuck you, I can't.
And when it turns out,
and then their response though was so, like, grossly out of proportion. I was like, no, that's not allowed.
I don't know.
To do that game.
I don't know, because I like to play spirituals a lot, and one of the things I like to do is consecrate worlds. Basically, I find a Gaia world, and then I'm like, all right, this is now a holy site. No one can settle here ever. And then if some schmuck just came up to me and it's like, I'm gonna settle on your fucking perfect world that you have declared a spiritual fucking site, I'd be a little pissed.
Well, I do want to say, though, I would like to point out, their holy worlds are outside their fucking territory.
That is
giant nerds.
Yeah, that is a little weird. But
but also to, like, would you? Well, Lucky might, but, like, my first response would not be to literally raise every one of their colonies because I'm Big Dick Fallen Empire, right?
Well, that's the weird thing. When I pissed off my Fallen Empire, they didn't go for my colonies. They just slapped me around a bit, demanded my surrender, and then executed my leader.
Yes, that was the first Fallen Empire I pissed off. I accidentally settled. They were, what do you call it? Isolationists, right?
Yeah, so they don't want anyone touching them. Which was bullshit, because they
claimed their territory, and I was like, but I just claimed your territory. It's not a problem. And then they sent a huge fleet, and I was like, okay, I give. They executed the High King and moved on. And I was like, okay. So, yeah, I think it depends on what kind of Fallen Empire they are, because I don't think we've gotten too deep into this, but empires have different qualities of traits and government types, which they can drift through. They can evolve over time, but, like, you can encounter a lot of stuff, and usually the game's pretty random about them, so you can get a lot of fun stuff, like despotic slavers. Nobody likes those guys.
Nobody likes those guys.
And other such, like, really complex. Like, I can actually probably pull up a list. But, so the Fallen Empires also have their subtypes, and I guess just the, like, even though they're a Fallen Empire, the Holy Empire guys have enough ships and shit left over that if you poke them, they're like, I declare a crusade! I shall purge you from this galaxy!
Okay,
like,
now, I'm going to show this. You have to leave it, because you've probably had to deal with this, but let me show you one of the things that kills me the most in this game. Okay, you see the ship right here? You see the ship right here? Listen, I want to go here, okay? I'm going to go survey the system. Noom. I'm like, you motherfuckers. I have the feeling this has to do with hyperlane density, but at the same time, I'm just like, why?
Yeah, hyperlanes are weird sometimes. I don't remember if it was an event chain or just a tech I researched. I did eventually find experimental subspace navigation, which, that still takes you time. Basically, your ships get fucking lost for a couple of months. But they will eventually show up in the system they aimed for. So you can skip hyperlane shit. You can also do gate stuff and wormhole stuff.
Yeah, wormhole and gate stuff is pretty good, because honestly, I think that's the solution they have to being when you get boxed in is jump through a wormhole, find out where you go, start from there. Also, when you figure out which ones they pair to it, they kind of help, zoom in and Newman around the galaxy.
Yep. I've definitely done that, and my fleets will, like, automatically, because I colonized a system with, like, 2 or 3 habitable worlds, because I turned up habitable world density. After uplifting humans and recruiting them to the Space Elf Empire, that really broadened my horizon, because humans are cool with, like, continental and ocean worlds, whereas the Space Elves are in Arctic. Arctic world, so they like tundra,
Special
alpine, and
project
Arctic
complete.
planets.
See, that's
I
why
haven't yet in my current
The
save
spirits have
discovered
granted
a
us
species that
new
likes
wisdom.
warm planets. I'll figure that out. Or I'll fucking make desert elves.
Our ships have been in.
Yeah, that's something.
I really wish I had more cosmetic options, but I think I need more DLC for that. I definitely
Yeah.
need to get some of the DLC myself.
Like I said,
because I
Lucky
know there's
dropped
some
like
really good
$100
stuff.
on DLC, and I don't necessarily regret it, but boy, man, fucking random chance really bones me some days.
I don't think I want to go all in right away, but there are definitely a couple that I'm like, man, I really want, like, the Leviathan stuff seems really cool. I've already seen some, because there are some roving space factions, like Space Amoebas.
Yep.
Void Clouds.
I constantly get adopted by a Space Amoeba, and I'm like, I love this thing.
That's cool. That's rad. I usually do the Space Amoeba research, so I can shoot Space Amoebas at people from my hangar bays. Funny. But, yeah. The Leviathans one sounds cool for some of the stuff. There is it New I know to get different
Our ships have
advisors,
been
you have to get one of the
improved.
DLC packs. Which I'm like, fuck, dude, some of those advisors sound cool. So I like, other than, Roboman's okay, but he's not cool, right?
Yeah, I like using the Spiritualist Advisor.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that the Xenophile advisor is described as perky.
Very.
She's just so happy to hang out and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like there's a couple of those things I might want to pick up, maybe some of the other
System
stuff.
survey complete.
I think they're working on, I've heard that they're still working on a base game update, 2.9, which will supposedly add more espionage shit.
Oh, wild.
Kind of like how Civ does spy stuff. You can assign your envoys to gather intelligence, and you
The
can
spirits have granted
engage
us
in
new
covert
wisdom.
operations, such as hiring privateers to go bother your enemies. Which, that's a thing. Pirates, it took me a little bit to figure out piracy. On the other hand, it's really easy to deal with. Just assign your fleets to patrol rather than hug your home system. Gives me something to do with all my cruisers and frigates. No, wait, not frigates yet. Is there a frigate class? I think there is.
Yeah. It's like...
I don't think I've got it.
It's like, what is it?
You start with corvettes, then you go destroyers, cruisers, battleships. And I haven't advanced past in the tech line. If frigate is in between there, it's possible that I just missed it, because that is a thing, right, about tech advancement in Stellaris. It's non-linear.
Yeah.
In the strictest sense, like, you will get randomized options every time. I do appreciate that when you get, like, a special research as a reward, it stays forever.
Yes.
That's really neat. Like, right now, I think one of the engineering projects I could undertake is living metal, but I haven't yet because it would take me, like, 10,000 research or something.
It's huge.
And I'm like, that's cool, but also I want bigger guns and bigger ships.
They are important.
Construction complete.
Well, like I said, I eventually want to be able to boop the snoot of this empire who's bothering me. That's going to take me a long time, since they spawn like 5 billion fleets with 100k power. So I know I will get there eventually, because the fallen empires are not written to actually stop you. They're mere... I think what they're intended to do is they're intended there to be like bullies or roadblocks when you're starting out.
Oh, they don't necessarily have to be bullies or roadblocks.
And yeah, and some of them are like helpful or neutral, right? Like they can even give you some help if they're the right kind.
Yeah.
But they're meant to be like a big boy member of civilization on the galactic scale, who you will eventually, or other fellow empires will eventually eclipse, right?
Yes.
Like they're fallen empires, they are reduced. They can like activate and get their shit together. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that one of the classic event chains is the War in Heaven scenario, where two fallen empires decide to duke it out, and you can get fucked because you get caught in the middle. But yeah. So like, I eventually want to get there, but I'm only on battleships. God, I love the ship designer though. It's so fun. It satisfies my little naval micromanagement. I'm like. Because they give you one auto design, which is usually your best, and you can auto upgrade. You can let the robots handle all of it, but sometimes you're like, but what if I made a battleship with a close quarters line config, and I gave it all plasma throwers? I make it a close-in knife fighter. Or you can do like long-range artillery models, etc., carriers, stuff like that. It's a lot of it's a lot of little humble fun. But yeah, so that's my general Stellaris impressions, and I definitely need to get some of the DLC. I just don't know when, because I haven't run into any of the really end game shit in mine. I know how to terraform now. That's cool. I have discovered some interesting army tech. I've got some like psionic stuff I have access to because I am also a spiritualist. I think my... Oh, actually, you could... apparently people can look it up because we discovered this the other day. Steam absolutely dobs you in on what empire you're playing.
Evading heretics.
So I believe they are... the Space Elves are light pacifists, because I did not necessarily want... I was designing to make Space Elves, but also I didn't necessarily want an empire that would be, like, gung-ho about expanding their territory before I figured out what the fuck I was doing. Depending on what empire type you are, you get different responses when you run into people,
Yes.
right? So I'm like... they start out as light pacifist, light spiritualist, light xenophile, I think.
Yep.
They like making friends. They're all about spiritual harmony. They don't really want to fight, but if you fight me, I'll fuck you up because it's me. I'll cut you.
Yeah, no. Just because I'm peaceful doesn't mean I'll not raise a giant army and poop you on the snoot.
Yeah, I definitely haven't researched psionic army and xenomorph army technology, guys. I definitely cannot summon psychic commanders and fucking alien monsters to invade your planetary shores if you decide to fuck with me. So yeah, there's a lot. I do like how customizable it is and how it doesn't other than the fact that to earn achievements you have to turn on Iron Man mode.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever super bothered with that, but like it's a little annoying. But you can set all your features and stuff ahead of time, and you can get all kinds of like crazy stuff in there. Galaxy size, hyperlane density, etc., etc. And there's a lot of really fun... Like I said, I love the random events and the anomalies and stuff, even if they're just cool little stories like, oh yes, we found out that our science ship was nearly hit by a mass driver round from another galaxy. How long ago was it shot? Nobody knows.
Okay.
Anyway, plus 2 minerals in this solar system.
Okay, guys, I want you to automatically survey, so why the fuck are you going to the other side of my fucking empire instead of all these blank slates right the fuck here?
Yes, that is a thing I've noticed. Automated navigation for exploration is dumb. They will, like, remember where they were last, even if you've, like, moved them around, and will go back there rather than go next door to a new fucking planet. You may have to, like, manually tell them to do a couple systems until they get their brains up straight. It's a little annoying. I do at least appreciate that it has an automated function.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sometimes they don't. But so, like, anomalies and that kind of stuff are some of my favorite, and the little event chains. In one save, I got the Mar and Karin thing, where, like, weird plants start to get everybody high and take over your planet, and eventually I had to, like, send in a remote operations team to punch everybody out and burn all the flowers. On 2 saves, I have met a subterranean race who are just chilling under the surface of one of the planets I settled. I even got a random chain where some of them turned political refugee and came surfaceward, and they joined my empire. That was cool. I kind of want to turn my robots, like, sentient, but I haven't got that yet. I don't know if being minor spiritualist locks me out of that fully, or if I need to research that tech.
Yeah, that's something I don't like, is being spiritualist. Is like, no, you cannot give full AI rights. I'm all like, how dare?
Yeah, it's a little weird, but I have definitely started building robots this time. That's also probably a DLC I want to get. There's one of them that I think, what is it? Is it Synthetic Dawn? There's one DLC that's all about playing synthetic races, which seems pretty cool. Like, they've got a couple of species type stuff. I think I want all the DLC, but I'm not, like I am not yet ready to go whole hog like Lucky, but I may next month pick up a couple of the small ones I like. And God help me if they ever do a sale. But yeah, Stellaris, it's cool.
Hey, cool, yo.
Do you have anything else to add about your Stellaris times?
Not really. Like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, but in my last game, I started playing... Did I mention this already? Oh, yeah, no, I did.
Go pretty me.
Talking about the Eater. The worm?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned the worm thing already.
Okay, I mentioned the worm. Other than that,
I
like I
believe
said,
that was on mic.
I believe that was on mic. Let's see. I booped Fallen Empire's snoot.
System survey complete.
Yeah, no. Well, oh yeah, on a previous game, I got
System
got pissed off at everyone that I unleashed the L gate. The L gate is basically, I think it's an expansion thing but it adds basically another new gateway system, and you basically have to collect plot tokens to open it. And if you open it, there's a fairly high chance that you will release the Nano Plague. This happened to one of my earlier galaxies, which when I didn't know this.
Situation.
Again talking about Paradox Interactive's not actually letting you know what consequences you have. So I opened it, released a nanophage, and was not able to defeat it in that game. But since I knew that at one game, I got just pissed off at everyone's like, you know what, fuck you guys. Because I have this habit now, at L gates, I just build fucking stonk-ass defense stations.
Yeah, you do. Defense platforms.
Defense platforms, just nothing but guns, uplinks, additional platforms, just...
So I do love the micromanagement of like world stuff, right? Like you can totally customize star bases. Like in some planets, I have, if they're like in a big trade hub, fill them with off-planet trade offices, trade hubs, anchorages, resource storage cylinders, and stuff. But if they're a border hyperlane, God forbid I get a hyperlane choke point. That's build a stronghold, give me a shipyard, an anchorage, gun platforms, defense platforms, targeting uplinks, everything. Give me the works. And I'm just like, if you come to this system, I will fucking kill you.
See, this is the problem. I wish that my hyper lanes were visible at the full map. Because...
yeah, if you zoom out too far, you don't see them. You just see the blobs of where you are. By the way, to answer your earlier question, yes, L Gates and L Cluster is Distant Stars DLC.
Ah, okay, so it was, yeah.
System survey complete.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6,
Anomaly
7,
found.
8, 9 DLC packs. Leviathans, which is one of the ones I want to get, because that's the big objects and stuff. I don't know if I've actually downloaded Horizon Signal. That's supposed to be a free DLC. I should make sure I've got that in the loop.
System
There's
survey complete. Our ships have been
Utopia,
approved.
which lets you build your own megastructures and change the nature of your civilization over time. Synthetic Dawn is the one I mentioned earlier. Lets you get
Construction complete.
artificial intelligence machine races and some special story choices for them. Apocalypse lets you build even bigger ships, the Titan class that are normally exclusive to Fallen Empires, and add some other stuff. Lets you build planet-destroying Colossus super weapons, etc., and gives you. I mentioned the special thing where you can start from Tomb Worlds or Gaia Worlds. Distant Stars we mentioned already. There's a Megacorp one, adds Megacorp stuff. And also lets you actually make Ecumenopolises, make your own city planet. Ancient Relic
complete.
adds some new Relic World stuff, some extra Relic World stuff to explore. There is a default story plotline that always results in finding a Relic World, but apparently this adds new ones. Add Ancient Artifacts. And then the latest one so far is Federations, which gives you extra options with Federation stuff and the Galactic Community.
Construction complete.
Ooh,
Construction
God, I think I
complete.
need that one, because apparently it also gives you the ability to build mobile star bases called Juggernauts and a mega shipyard megastructure. I love the sound of that. Yeah, so most of those, cool. Also, did I miss one, or did this not list? TV tropes might not list it. I also know there is
System
the
survey complete.
Necroid DLC pack that lets you add special, like, pseudo
System
space
survey
zombie
complete.
Yeah.
or space vampire type race stuff. Like, it's pretty cool and pretty in depth. I'm interested in that future update, whether that's a DLC or a free thing about the spy stuff, but it's a cool game.
You know, it's fun.
I will probably play more after this, maybe, unless I play something else. I did actually put a few hours in the other night because I had something to listen to and playing Scott Pilgrim on my own. I immediately noticed one big thing, which
Construction
is when you're playing solo, bosses don't get ads,
Yep.
which is way less annoying. I do want to say I understand why, so you
ships
can't just,
have
you know,
been
gangbang a
improved.
boss, but also at the same time, I
Our
do kind of
ships
hate
have
what
been
ads they
improved.
add, because even
Our ships
going back
have
and
been
playing old
improved.
levels with, I kept playing as Scott because I kept my
System
levels from our
survey
online game.
complete.
Even when you like go back to level 1 and play as a like grossly over-leveled character, enemies still have annoying habits you can't really do anything
Construction
about. Like, there's not really a good way to guard the break as far as I know.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do the
The
specific, like, the
spirits
grapple
have
combo or
granted us
something, which
new
requires,
wisdom.
like, timing and positioning. And there are a lot of enemies who have
complete.
very annoying levels of reach or ranged attacks, which you don't get ever, unless you pick something up and throw
Situation
them.
log updated.
Yeah.
It's a... Sorry.
System survey
Said cough.
complete.
But, yeah, it seems a little annoying that, like, enemies get options that you don't, and there's really nothing you can do about it besides, like, turtle up and move around, but the movement is still very classic arcade-y, so it's not, like, buttery smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a big deal. It's still pretty fun playing alone.
Yeah, I played it.
I'll make sure to, like, beat it and try out some of the other characters at some point. It's just that I've also, like I said last week, still been watching a lot of Netflix.
Uh-huh.
Construction
So you
complete.
I cannot easily Netflix on my TV and play my PS5. That's not how that works, guys.
Anomaly
Now, if
found.
Sony ever did me like a PIP feature,
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
that'd be cool. You'd have to like figure out your own audio balance, so that might be a pain in the butt to program, but it would be neat.
It would be neat.
Though, speaking of like stuff I talked about last week, that reminds me, nobody would have heard this story yet because it happened
Construction
Sunday as I was
complete.
about to premiere last week's What's Up, because I talked about earlier about how people actually watch that. I actually had a heck of a time getting that up because I think it was just because it was Sunday, but that was like the one day my computer was slow when it woke up,
Uh-huh.
and it just would not get up off its ass and get me into YouTube so I could fucking tweet about stuff and Discord and whatnot, because I've complained about this before, but YouTube has an unfortunately horrible habit of taking away all the automated tools that I can use and only keeping automation for itself.
Anomaly found.
Yeah.
Like, we can no longer auto-add to playlists. They stopped automatically tweeting about your things. You got to manually tweet. For some bullshit reason that, like, creators find it much more responsible to create their own handcrafted tweets. No, fuck you. Nobody handcrafts a tweet about your video. I just hit the tweet button instead. Why can't you do that for me? I don't know, because you didn't feel like it.
Construction complete.
Say like there's a lot of times that I think YouTube doesn't understand the actual effort people who are putting input in, because like a lot of times they come up with the excuse that like, oh, nobody ever uses those features. Okay, but what about the people that do? Like, yes, most people who upload to YouTube don't use any features. They just upload to YouTube for free. That's the only feature they use. Is that the only feature you want your website to have? But anyway, that's a different discussion to have. But I just realized that nobody knew about my frustration with getting that set up, because it was like quietly the first thing I got up, and just my computer would not wake up as fast as I would. And hopefully I don't have that problem tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that I have some of that issue comes from the fact that I've realized that, at least in my version of Windows 10, there's absolutely nothing you can do to tell your antivirus software to fuck off for a minute. Like, if you open up Task Manager and you try to tell it to pause or stop or suspend, it's like, can't do that, Chief. And I'm like, this is a weird thing with me, especially since I talked about automation, but I don't like how computers get to decide what they can run and what they can't sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, as the person who owns the fucking computer, I know I don't own the software, licensing, whatever, but it's my fucking hardware tower. I definitely own that, guys. You have the right to operate on my machine. I would love to be able to tell more programs to just please stop doing what you're doing for a second. Yeah, I know that turning on my antivirus for like 5 seconds will leave me vulnerable or whatever, but you can live without doing your updates or your whatever you're doing for like 5 minutes as I'm trying to get my shit done. Like, that's just one of those things where I feel like it's a little rude for the computer to assume it has better priorities than me, the computer operator. That's one of those things that should be reserved for, like, nuclear reactors and stuff, right?
System
Like,
survey
when
complete.
when you're not just gonna fuck over the person operating the computer, but you're gonna fuck over a lot of people. No, just if I accidentally get a virus or something in like the 5 minutes I turn it off, which I won't, by the way. I won't accidentally get a virus or Trojan going to my own YouTube page and clicking some buttons on something I've already uploaded.
Anomaly found.
At least I'm pretty sure I won't. If I will, I'd love to talk to YouTube about some stuff.
Construction complete.
But yeah, it's one of those little pet peeves of mine sometimes that I have with tech, where it's like, can you stop trying to be smarter than me and just do what I want you to do? And computer's like, nah, bruh, I'm not programmed for that. And I'm like, okay, what human asshole did this to me? Because I guess that's the ultimate thing. It's never really the computer's fault. Like talking about, like, mentioning that shit I talked about with Fallen Empires earlier, that's not really the fault, quote-unquote, the Fallen Empire's fault. That's somebody at Paradox decided that would be a cool thing to do to you, is to have a Fallen Empire who can get so mad they decide to destroy your colonies. Like, a human still built this machine, as far as I know. We don't yet know if we're in a Skynet situation where machines are building machines.
Complete.
Now, if machines build machines and they don't want to listen to me, that at least I understand, even if that's scary. But when a human told a machine not to listen to me, that's annoying. Spent about 30 minutes on Stellaris, but I don't think we got any other big points to go there.
Not really, no, probably not.
Speaking of 4X games, I do believe Civ's latest update is live.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, there's a Civ 6 update scheduled. I downloaded it. I have not played the new mode, but I believe that the new Civs and new mode are in.
Construction complete.
So that'll be cool sometime to go back to Civ. I'm still in the middle of the Stellaris hole, so I'll probably want to play out my current galaxy to satisfaction before I decide to cycle back and check out what's up with Civ. But we did talk about it, where the Monopolies mode actually sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I have also heard that I believe this will be a free update. They are still planning sometime in the middle of next month a non-DLC related just game balance update, which will apparently rebalance some civs and stuff, which could be interesting, because I know that there are some civilizations which are considered really OP, and there are some, especially early gen civs, non-DLC civs, who are kind of underwhelming. So we'll see if they balance some of that out, but that's a future us.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of tangential to Stellaris,
if
we don't mind keeping on a space theme,
is
that playing Stellaris definitely inspired me to do some extra work on 4X.
Oh, I believe that.
And especially because Stellaris is not like it's a big high brain sci-fi game, but it is not like super hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
There's like wormhole gates and other weird shit, and you can run into a lot of funky stuff that doesn't make any sense. So that kind of got me thinking about certain tracks and got me to do some work. Like, for instance, and I don't want to go too deep on some of the details for some of the stuff I've been doing over the past week, just because I'm pretty sure Lucky hasn't had a chance to look at all my edits yet.
Special project complete.
So that would be a very one-sided conversation that I don't necessarily want to go through and literally explain stuff I wrote when people can read it.
Complete.
Sorry, Discord got a message. Save back. But one of the things that I can easily say was kind of Stellaris inspired was so Lucky, you and I have had some back and forth about the planet types, right? Especially with like their relative frequency. This is a thing you talked about where you're like, so should these be on like a curve, like a curved probability? Because I don't want to say Lucky is afraid of some, but you have definitely expressed that you were not eager to end up with certain of these planet types in the past. So this one I kind of came up with a different solution for. So I was thinking about it. I was like, how can I like figure this out? And I could have just weighted the probabilities, but then I had some ideas for some other stuff. So what I ended up doing was I split planets into 3 classes. So class 1, class 2, class 3, all of them are separate percentile tables. Class 1 is habitable. So that is planets that definitely have a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. They have at least one climate zone which is comparable to Earth. They have a biosphere. They have potable water. So these are planets that are good to settle on. You will probably find them habitable. You might also find some other stuff already living there
System
that
survey
might want to eat your
complete.
face, but hey, you'll have an easy time, you know.
The
You may or may
spirits
not
have
need environment
granted us
suits, you
new
may or may not
wisdom.
need special like, it's not fully easy mode, but it's
Situation
definitely
log
easier to
updated.
wrap your brain around, right?
Mhm.
Class 2 or Type 2 are marked as inhospitable. You can live there, but usually they have like one quirk that makes it tougher than normal. This includes some of the examples like the halogenic type planet, which is the chlorine heavy.
Mhm.
So, like that has plenty of water and even can have biosphere and you know even have some access to some rare elements. But the seas are acidic and the air is poisonous, right? So you know it's not like an easy run. European type planets, you know, subcrustal ocean. That's neat. There's a lot of water to work with, but also you have to like live in an underground ocean, stuff like that. And the
Construction
third
complete.
class is hazardous, which is actively
Anomaly
trying to
found.
kill you.
Oh god.
So
The
this
spirits
includes,
have
you know,
granted us new wisdom.
the Aryan, the Mars-like type, so like a reducing CO2 atmosphere, like no oxygen. Some of the more like strongly metallic planets, like Hadean or Mercurial types.
Construction complete.
Planets that are heavy in heat, Venusian, Hephaestian planets, stuff like that, you know. Planet types that basically are like, okay, you literally can't go outside without your fucking suit, you'll die.
System survey complete.
So, and that's kind of the way, so the intention of this system is that your group or your GM or whatever gets to pick what class they're working with. There'll probably be a D6 table later that lets you randomly roll the two classes or whatever.
System survey complete.
So, like, but in general, this lets you basically pick your difficulty level.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want a relatively easy time, just basic living, you can pick a class 1 planet. You know, you can roll randomly, you'll get a planet where you can probably breathe, probably find water. There will be biomass and other stuff to work with.
Construction complete.
You'll be able to figure it out pretty good. And to this end, I actually, to make the probabilities work, I added some extra planet types, at least one to everyone. Class 1 planets actually got the most, but there was a lot of direct inspiring by Stellaris. So I added first the Alpine Mountain World, taken straight from Stellaris. That's one of the basic world types you can encounter, which is basically a cold planet with middling water coverage, because it's got a lot of glaciers and stuff. Unlike the tundral world, it's not necessarily actively experiencing an ice age, but it has a cooler natural temperature and has a lot of weathering into high mountain ranges and low valleys. So it's got a lot of like up and down topography. Valleys should be pretty habitable, but there also are a lot of mountains which can make like long-term travel kind of
System survey
limited.
complete.
You know, has some unique challenges, but still has some unique positives.
Construction complete.
There's the arboreal planet. This was not directly inspired by Stellaris, but the fact that Stellaris is sometimes a little goofy led me to go there, because like the idea of a forest planet is not really that realistic, just because like planets with a biosphere that is actually unified are probably a little weird. But I found some decent like justification. So the idea behind arboreal is it's a planet that doesn't have a lot of ocean coverage, but instead it has a lot of atmospheric water vapor and a lot of heavy precipitation. Land masses are usually covered with large, complex bioforms like trees, but they might be like giant fungi, depending on your biome, etc., etc. But basically, this means that most of your landmass is taken up with thick, dense foliage and heavy canopies, and probably has a slightly raised climate with greenhouse effects, so that the temperature is more even, like there's not as much latitude, but gives you kind of a unique environment to go in. And then another one lifted directly from Stellaris was a Sanctum type world, aka a relic world. Which is basically, this is a planet that is remarkably Earth-like, like a Gaian world, but either it has qualities that don't match up with its position, like it has unusual amounts of unusual climate for its star type, its orbital position, its age, etc. Or it has like identifiable features that like aliens were on this planet, kind of a thing.
Construction complete.
So
Interesting.
it's a sign of somebody else out there that definitely like tilts your
Construction
narrative
complete.
and you know, fields out your stuff, and can also lead to some interesting things where like, hey, you may encounter pre-existing structures or modified species of xenofauna here, and get some interesting results.
System
In the
survey
Type 2,
complete.
also stealing from our boy Stellaris, I added a sepulchral type planet, a tomb world, which is a world that may have
The
various
spirits have granted
climates
us
and water
new
coverage,
wisdom.
but basically appears to be recovering from a major
System
climate
survey
disaster of some kind.
complete.
Oh.
Either it was an accident due to shift,
Construction
or
complete.
somebody fucked up their own planet.
Womp womp.
So this can like have issues of like, you may have ambient radioactivity from nuclear fallout. You may have a planet in the middle of a global warming crisis or global cooling crisis, right? But it's a gold mine of xenoarchaeology, so hey, that's why the colonization office sent you here, probably.
Anomaly found.
So yeah, it's likely to have some exotic hazards, but still have some interesting stuff there. And then just to round out the class 3, I added a new type, which I had skipped previously, a Chthonian world, which if you don't know the Chthonian or Chthonian, depending on how you want to pronounce it, same as Chthonic, that is a hypothetical planet type that occurs when a gas giant has its atmosphere stripped away.
Oh.
Which leaves a metallic core. So this is a very dense metallic planet, probably closer to its star than normal because it's had its atmosphere blown away by stellar winds or some other exotic thing, but definitely has like
System
large
survey
amounts of
complete.
metallic elements, volatiles, etc., compressed metallic elements. And may even have thin atmospheres of silicon or oxygen-based gases. So you may actually find some atmosphere stuff you can work with, but there's a lot of like stellar radiation. Like a Hephaestian planet, they may even have like molten oceans or lakes of molten rocks and rain metallic elements. So your last question there, Axe. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring you, but I was trying to finish my spiel before I pivoted, trying to keep my thoughts in order. It's not necessarily a planet-wide rainforest,
Construction complete.
because again, here's the thing:
The
planets that have a
spirits granted us new
completely
wisdom.
uniform climate, basically impossible. Like even Mars is big wide open deserts, volcanic mountains and chasm terrain, and then on its poles it has ice caps, right?
Yeah.
Construction complete.
So like, even if a planet has a mostly forest type biome as its coverage, it will not be a uniform biome. There will be different topographies. There may be mountain ranges, for instance, which rise up above the tree line, or have very thick, dense trees.
System
If you
survey
get up into
complete.
the upper latitudes, you may end up with
Construction
a
complete.
like Arctic subspecies, basically a large taiga biome. But definitely there would be a decent amount of precip, just because that's kind of where all this water is coming from that drives this cycle. And hey, it's entirely possible that some of your water coverage, you'll have oceans that are filled with forests too. Now, what if your planet's mostly kelp forest?
That's a cool thought.
So yeah, there's a lot of variability, but this is how you get your like your planet-wide forest that you see in science fiction sometime. But I did put a caveat of like, it shouldn't literally be all one single forest, because that's not really how climate works. I have to do a lot of like put thing of that. Well, yeah, so I was talking about that. I mentioned that. I didn't want to get back to that in the middle of my thought because you started with a non sequitur. But yeah, since
System
I've finished that,
survey
Axe was
complete.
asking about hidden agenda stuff. Seems very popular. Several people have asked about the hidden agenda, actually. That's
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad that people like this mechanic. So you said, like, is it a possibility? Yes, it is a possibility.
Anomaly
That is
found.
definitely noted several times in my design notes, is that the big thing is that there should be an emergent narrative.
Construction complete.
What this emergent narrative is
spirits have
really depends on
granted
your
us
group
new wisdom.
and your GM and what they're going for. Like, obviously, your planet type is,
System
kind of a
survey
thing that could
complete.
exist, but absolutely you could be playing a simple...
The spirits have granted
You could be
us
playing
new
a simple
wisdom.
space murder mystery. You could end up playing the
System
thing,
survey
right?
complete.
Yeah.
Or something like an Among Us kind of situation.
Construction
And I mean,
complete.
Among Us and the Thing do have like basically supernatural elements. If you guys have ever seen imposters, you know, shoot a needle out of their mouth. They're not necessarily normal, but like you could definitely have these kind of weird situations. You could even go with the classic X-Files scenario of, oh no, we accidentally inhaled a space fungus. Now I must kill. That was at least one X-Files episode.
System survey complete.
It was also a silicon-based fungus, I believe, which didn't make any goddamn sense. How do I know it was a silicon-based fungus? I looked up silicon-based organisms.
Anomaly found.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, like, so it's entirely possible that you will get this thing either because that's either the intended emerging narrative that your GM designs after like looking at all the characters and the planet and everything, or that just happens. Like if you are overly concerned about the idea that somebody could get something like There Will Be Blood, where like their motivation is to just take over the colony violently, I mean, yeah, that's a concern, but hopefully you should. So, while there will be notes about how to like not be an asshole, at the same time, there's a certain amount of just not being an asshole baked into the culture. Like, I know some game lines feel the need to include extra advice about not being an asshole, and sometimes that's context appropriate. I don't know if it's necessarily my job to teach the prospective players and GMs about how to not be an asshole in space. If you're being an asshole at your table, you're being an asshole. And there's only so much the game can do about that.
Yeah.
So if like you guys aren't okay with some of those, it will certainly be a note that like maybe we should, because the GM section's still in dev. There will be notes like, first of all, that is a thing that is required. Your GM has to know your hidden agenda, because otherwise they can't know if you're following it, basically.
Yeah.
So your GM will always know the hidden agendas. And I think when the game is finished, I will just replace all copy instances of a GM with Overseer. That's what the GM section is called right now, Overseer Survey. But your GM will always know all your hidden agendas, so they can know if a character gets a hidden agenda that doesn't make sense with the group. Your group, out of character, might also know your hidden agendas. That's going to be like a player choice thing. They can be like truly hidden, and nobody knows whose hidden agenda is.
Complete.
Well, yeah, so there's definitely going to be different lengths of campaign. I haven't formed it out yet, but I was thinking about what Lucky said were like different phases or ages.
Mm-hmm.
There will definitely be some notes about like really, really long form play, like not just building one settlement, but then, okay, we built one settlement, let's build more settlements, and then let's leave this planet and go colonize other planets in the system, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously I do want to hit up some of the fun sci-fi tropes, like, hey, what happens if you discover a weird alien megastructure in your system? So, like, there will be definitely some different, like, lengths of campaigns for if your players, like, are much more focused on the colony building aspect or, like, really, really long-term goals. Like, hell, you could even, I will probably make this as a note, you can play a generational game. Like, you know, what happens, you know, in 20 to 40 years when all your colonists die, just because you guys didn't build the cryo bank or the life extension tank or whatever. There will probably be some slightly arbitrary technologies you can build which let you avoid some of these problems. But, like, it, you know, how do you handle, like, really, really long-term stuff? Well, you probably play a generational game. Either you are part of a second wave of colonists, or you are literally the kids of your colonists, and you can, like, build out really interesting stuff.
Ships have been improved. Our ships
I mean,
have
so,
been improved.
specifically star maps and stuff.
Our ships have been improved.
Star charts are important, and I do have a note to talk about that later with some other stuff I'm working on right now. Because I'm trying to I'm trying to make sure to incentivize Lucky and some other people to maybe take a second crack at the document soon. Take another look because I've done a lot. But travel routes is not really that, because this is a mostly hard sci-fi thing. There's no FTL, as far as you know, anyway. Like there are some caveats which are noted in the game. One of which is that I copied this over from the OG version, but in the Overseer section, it does actually mention I do have the section back home printed again, which mentions that the colonization office has some weird tech to like stay in range with colonies. But this could be a deep space relay station with an automated AI that sends these out. Like, you think you like launched from a light-hugging spaceship as it passed by the solar system. In actuality, they like parked and built a space station loaded with like 5 or 6 colony pods, and your next wave of colonists are literally sleeping on the edge of this solar system waiting for you to tell them to wake the fuck up. Which could be a little existentially terrifying. Or maybe they have a physics exploit where they can like communicate in limited FTL fashions, but not travel faster than light. Stuff like that. So, and like obviously there will be open-ended to like, hey, what happens if you run into a Stargate on your planet? Like, there will be a couple of pre-baked,
have been improved.
mostly like basically writing prompts, but there'll be a couple of pre-baked plots in the Overseer survey for like, okay, here's how you build your narrative, kids.
Our ships have been
Alien
improved.
ruins, maybe there's a Stargate. Maybe
Our
you can
ships
connect
have
to
been
another
improved.
planet somewhere else without actually traveling there.
Our ships have been improved.
Maybe there are megastructures, etc.
Our ships
Yeah, like,
have been improved.
and God forbid, like, if you actually discover a functional,
Our
like,
ships
FTL
have
drive,
been
that could be
improved.
another thing. That could be a really interesting late game
System
narrative where you
survey
dial up
complete.
the colonization office and you're like, hey guys, we found a functional space warp drive.
Construction complete.
We've even turned it on and everything, and then all of a sudden the colonization office, the UNXCO, is just like, sit right there, don't touch anything. We'll be with you in 5 to 10 years. And suddenly, you know, UN security forces are suddenly occupying your planet. That would really speed this process up. It would really depend on, like I said, what the players and what the GM want to do. There should be a certain amount of mystery, because that's a big thing I've noticed with these types of games is, like, finding unexplained, explorable stuff to explore and explain. Literally, that's one of the basic activities you can do. I called, actually, there's 2 of them, technically. One of them is, what did I call it exactly? It's research and analysis. Like, literally, you can spend time to roll skills to, like, figure shit out.
System survey
Like, hey,
complete.
what's the source of this environmental hazard? Hey, where can I find this resource? And then another one is called brainstorming and intuition, which is basically my give the players a clue option. Hey, have you missed something, or have you guys done all the research you want but don't know what the heck to do?
Anomaly found.
Roll int times 3. The GM will give you a clue to figure out what the fuck is happening. So that there are a lot of different potential narratives. That's kind of like, I didn't want to capture one singular
System
narrative.
survey
I wanted to
complete.
capture the way a lot of these
Construction
games
complete.
feel, right? Like when you boot up Subnautica and land in the water, your first thought is, okay, how do I not die? And then as you explore the game, you're like, oh shit, I have a way to like cure this disease that's killing me and get off this planet. Neat. Let's get the fuck out of here. And in, you know, in more
System
survival
survey
horror type
complete.
scenarios, which can absolutely
spirits
happen. Like
have
if you're playing like
granted
a
us
Dead
new
Space or an
wisdom.
Alien Isolation, you're like, oh shit, there's
Construction
horrible things
complete.
trying to eat me. How do I develop the weapons and
Construction
tools I need to get the fuck out of here and not die or kill the thing? How do I turn off the badness? We've accidentally found a weird stone covered in carvings that speaks to me in my dreams. Isaac Clarke, what do we do? Shit. Fuck. Yes, you can totally Dead Space yourselves, by the way.
Anomaly found.
That will, like, weird religious
System
alien
survey
stuff will be
complete.
there as well.
Anomaly found.
I mean, you can do different stuff. There could be actual space zombies. That could be an interesting trait. Creature design is still a little up in the air, but I've started building the building blocks in that.
Complete.
But like I said, like this is supposed to like imitate a lot of generic space exploration survival games, because there are a lot of those. Like you could play Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri with this. Hey, the planet is alive and it makes psychic brainworms that try and eat your face until you tap into your latent psychic powers and become one with the
Construction
brainworms.
complete.
Or you just build Space McDonald's or whatever. Alpha Centauri is not a
System
one-to-one
survey
because that's a
complete.
4X game with multiple factions.
Anomaly found.
But yeah, there's like a lot of different things. Also, some of the way like colony and settlement development on Stellaris works will also translate. I will definitely, when I get into more ideas for building like large scale colonies, urban planning, as I'll call it. I will definitely probably be looking to some of the building types you can build in Stellaris. Like, you can already, one of the things I've already detailed is you can build a large scale fabricator, but then there will be options for like, hey, if you guys have shitloads of free labor and resources, you can build literal factories, which may be automated. Like, that's kind of a thing that you can go to that tier where you're like, oh, we just do big brain stuff. The computers or our fellow colonists handle all the basic bit shit. Like, if you can get high level automation going, that can really help you move into some new things. So that's a lot of the high level work I've been doing. I've split out the classes of planets. I have added a decent amount to, I mentioned the overseer survey, like the back home section. I have a rough description of what the landing procedure is and how your lander should start out. I have a very long sidebar, funnily enough, about how naming works. Because this is a thing I think, as a GM, you should be thinking out. Like, you may have to come up with names for shitloads of creatures you design. Like, if you go crazy designing a bestiary, you may end up having a lot of names to give. Now, the one thing you can do is you can do the classic thing, and you can shove names off on the players. Oh, you found a mountain? Hey, what's it called? Big Rock. Right, Big Rock Mountain. Got it. But also, it is noted because, well, I haven't gotten into really the details of how to portray Eden yet. It is important to remember you are accompanied by a fairly complex AI system called Eden, who's supposed to be there to, like, walk you through colonization and make sure you don't stub your toes on anything. So this is where your GM comes in if your players aren't creative and can't come up with names off the cuff, or the names they come up with are dumb.
Excuse you.
And Eden can be like, hey, what if we just called it Devil's Rock? Or, oh, you found, I think one of my examples was, you found a silicon-based predator that swims in molten lakes of lava shark. You know, stuff like that. Like, you can come up with simple, this is what, like, for instance, Subnautica's excuse for why most of the fish have very simple names. It's because your data pad has like an algorithm that auto names things based on their traits that's supposed to be dirt simple to remember, right? Mm-hmm. So you get stuff like the boomerang. It's a fish that's shaped like a boomerang. Duh. You know, stuff like that. There's notes about like planet naming, etc. You can do with the normal shit like letters, numbers, random character things. You can give them descriptive names. The old X world thing.
Project complete.
Actually naming your colonies. By the way, there's shitloads of references in these too. You know, informal names like the settlement, the ranch, home base. Fun descriptive names like New Hope or Landing, or then references to cities back on Earth like New Londinium, Nova York, or Tokyo the Third. Shit like that.
The Third.
It's actually written as Tokyo Roman numeral 3. But no dash.
No dash.
Yeah, no. I am full of references. And then some notes about doing geological features, right? Like, for instance, let's say you're on a Venusian planet called Lucifer, because that would be a good parallel name, by the way, for a Venus-like planet, the Morning Star. You could just as easily call something Devil's Rock, I joked about earlier, or you could call a mountain Pandemonium Mons.
Construction complete.
Which, by the way, is how most planetological features in our solar system are named. Because they're named by nerds. I think we've talked about this before, but for instance, all of Venus's planetary features are named after goddesses or famous women.
Yep.
Construction complete.
So, like, those are the kinds of themes you should carry over into your game design.
System survey complete.
Sorry, I feel bad for the Savix Quas Galactic Empire. I only put 3 empires in. So here's the problem I have. This is all the galaxy I have to work with. I only have 3. Actually, I think there might be 1 more. But, yeah. For some odd reason, we all got boxed in this little area right here.
Yeah, that's the random map power.
Anomaly.
Oh, that reminds me, there's another thing that I also did not turn on at all, but I know you already complained about not wanting to use, which is the, what is it called, like Advanced Start or something?
Yeah.
where you can if you're a lunatic, you can set it so some empires get a head start on you or have randomized amounts of advancements. And I'm like, that doesn't sound very fun.
It's like, who wants
I
to
guess
suffer?
It's designed to like make it more chaotic, so it doesn't feel like more scripted that everybody starts at the same time at the same level. But I'm like, why would I want randos who I don't even know if I'm gonna like to like get a leg up on me?
It's gonna take me just that much longer to kill them.
Even if you're like being peaceful and can make peace, that's like still kind of like, why would I want somebody who can like freak out and try and bully me or something?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only other like really big things I've done, besides I have solidified a lot of the little rules with like combat stuff, various environmental hazards. Like a lot of that got shored up. I got a lot of stuff left over. I have solidified my timescale system basically. As far as I see it, there's going to be like, there should be roughly 3 different layers to this. There's actions, which happen in combat encounters or other structured time, right? An action, something that's like super fast for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot a gun, punch a guy, fix a broken spaceship part really quick, stuff like that. Those are actions. You have simple and complex actions. I've talked about this before. Pretty basic stuff. Then there's activities. Activities is basically, this is something you do outside of structured time, but is not like super long term. You can accomplish multiple activities in a session. They usually take you like either your whole day of work or part of your day of work, etc. These are the longer scale things I've mentioned, like brainstorming intuition, creating things, harvesting resources, making simple tools, other such stuff. And then there's downtime, which leads into projects, which basically downtime is any length of time that's like super, super long and drawn out that we're skipping over. Oh, you've got an automated oil well that you need to wait a week for it to produce enough oil for you to do whatever it is you need to do. Downtime. Complete. You know, you can use downtime when you're spending EXP. You can use it to like do long-form activity. You can use it to amplify pre-existing activities. Like I said, if you have the resources, you can, as part of downtime, just say that you take several days and fabricate a whole shitload of assault rifles. You know, whatever. Handle automatically, stuff happens.
Anomaly found.
But if you have like really, really long-term multi-day stuff, you can engage in projects. This is stuff like clearing land, constructing buildings, creating your own blueprints. Because like Lucky and I have talked about this before, the intent is that you have a preset number of blueprints that are pre-planned. But also, I'm not going to assume that I will solve every potential problem that a game master or group may have, because players are animals. They'll come up with whatever the fuck. So there is actually a project for you to design your own blueprint, whether that's just like customizing a pre-existing blueprint or actually being like, hey, we've run into a narrative problem where we need to design an all-new tool or building or something.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you design a blueprint for that thing. And I think, like, I haven't sketched out the construction rules, but I think that's going to be pretty simple. It's going to use the architecture skill, so you have something to do with architecture. And what you're probably going to do is you're probably going to try and find an analog for, like, in the building blueprints, so you know, like, roughly how much space and how much structure it has, but it'll be a lot simpler, right?
Yeah.
Like, building a hab module probably requires alloys, polymers, shit like that.
Yeah.
Building yourself a, you know, log cabin that seats 4 people is a lot simpler, but also it doesn't have cool features like emergency batteries and, you know, environmental seals and oxygen recyclers. So you will have to probably make it do by either using up some space in your new building or just not going without. But hey, remember that arboreal planet thing? Well, if you cut down a shitload of trees, you probably have excess trees. You can build log cabins pretty readily when you can't build hab modules.
Situation log updated.
And a log cabin does beat the shit out of hanging your standard issue space sleeping bag, which is explicitly referenced, by the way. That's a thing I've put in a couple notes. Not only do you start with personal items in your gear list, but everybody starts out with a couple of redundant uniforms, and you have a bedroll, which is basically space sleeping bag.
Spag.
Cause I realized that I was like, oh, it's probably gonna take people multiple days to like get comfortable places to sleep, and that's actually like a thing. So yeah, no, you get a space sleeping bag. It's good for camping outside your colony, and also so you don't have to sleep in your fucking crash seat for your first night. You know, you can actually sleep on the floor in a bedroll that's pretty well insulated. It's even got anchor holds, so you can turn it into a hammock. It's neat. It's great.
It's great.
Stuff like that. But you'll be able to probably do different things. Conversing with Lucky, there's definitely, I've realized that, like, I need to make sure that there are a lot of avenues out of this, especially if we're structuring things where, like, I need to make sure that my rules are written so that the GM and the players can respond to a situation organically.
Yes.
And not just with all the cool toys that I invented because they're cool.
I think it's best to think of
times when you don't have those.
Well, yeah, like the way I think the best way is it's good to have like your predetermined R-rated stat sheet so you can get things going, but there's always going to be a situation where there's highly specialized or just outside the norm. You're like, just like, I need something a bit different than what we have on hand.
And I don't want to say, because I'm the way the like GM advice and narrative things are going to be written will be very open-ended. So I don't necessarily like I haven't written them yet, but I'm realizing now as I write the bulk of the main rules, I'm like, oh yeah, no, if I'm going to write this game this way, I'm going to need to make sure GMs have the tools to like be flexible with their narratives, because they're going to have to do a little bit of legwork. Even if I give them a like list of, you know, dirt simple, obvious plots they can pull from, they will probably still need some wiggle room to like figure that out on their own, and that will require rules with wiggle room. So, you know, I've got like my different scale, I got a lot of the stuff in. I think I have figured out, I've made sure to assign every role a starting talent. Talents are not complete yet. I need to like double over and make sure I've got a lot of different ones for different skills and other just obvious stuff. I did add that hardened one we talked about.
Oh, cool.
It costs you 10 XP. It costs you 10 XP, so it's like a second tier, and it requires you to have will of 20 or higher. But after you suffer morale damage from traumatic circumstances or other involuntary sources, you have that damage, but you do half morale gain from hidden agenda and job satisfaction, because you're psychologically hardened. So if you're dead inside, you don't get as much joy out of life, but also it's really hard to fuck with you.
Yeah, makes sense.
Special project complete.
And I will work on some more stuff as I feel like it. I did have to add rough rules for addiction, because I did some stuff I'm going to talk about in a second. There's the fear system. If you encounter something that's like not necessarily just morale hardening, but actually like scary. Like say if you get ambushed by an imposter in a closet. Or, you know, maybe you stumble into a space tiger in the dark when you leave your hab dome to go pee. Because nobody's built toilets yet. That's another thing. If you build a log cabin, there's no toilet in it. At least by default, you have to come back later and build in plumbing. The beauty of prefab. And I went with a simple system because morale is like your overall mental health stuff. You can still, if you fail a test, you will still probably suffer 1d6 morale loss, unless it calls for something bigger, like if it's a really, really terrifying. But in general, if you're like in an immediate circumstance, like you're about to start a combat encounter or something, I went with a simple system of, if you fail on a big check, you get fight, flight, or freeze. So you get to choose how you react, so you keep some of your agency. If you choose fight, you respond reactively and violently to the threat. You will attack enemies. You will aggressively tackle problems. You will challenge danger head-on even when you shouldn't. You maintain this aggressive stance until either you're disabled or the source of your fear is dealt with. This includes, by the way, inanimate fears. Like, your nuclear reactor starts dumping radioactive gases into your colony. If you freak out and roll fight, you are like, no, I'm going to go in there. You don't even have your radiation suit on. I'll fix it. And then you die of radiation poisoning like Mr. Spock. But it's cool. If you choose flight, you panic and flee, run, hide, etc. You move as fast away from the threat as possible. If you can't move anymore, you deliberately try to hide. You ignore all other potential hazards until you get away from the source. And then freeze is just, you lock the fuck up. You don't have to leave, you don't have to advance, you just don't do anything until somebody snaps you out of it. This is arguably more short-term because you snap out of it when either the source of your fear leaves, or possibly if you suffer some harm, right? So it may actually be tactical for you to go, oh, I'm going to pick freeze. The space tiger will punch me, but I will still be okay and can continue to function normally, and I don't have to charge into danger or run away. But yeah, it's just some different options and stuff there.
Complete.
I did actually come up with rules for unconsciousness, because that's a thing that can happen. But I think the biggest thing I worked on was I started on the creature chapter.
Oh.
So I've got a creature's basics section, which basically explains the high level of how creature stats are treated. So basically, creatures have core stats like colonists. They can have skills. They should only have simple skills. You know, dealing with intelligent sapient aliens is a GM section thing. Like, if you guys are going to run into intelligent alien races, that is something you guys should not know about. Not even as the players, you should necessarily know about it ahead of time. So the rules for that kind of stuff is stored somewhere else. But they can get access to simple skills like athletics, covert ops. By the way, I don't know if I said that last time. I did have to add a sneaking skill because I realized I didn't have one. So covert ops is the name of that skill. Because everything needs to sound technical and cool. Though a tool-using species, like, you wouldn't call, you know, an orangutan or a chimpanzee, like, necessarily sapient. They can learn a couple of language things, but they're not really big on, like, high-tech and, like, philosophy. But still, some species like that may have more complex skills.
System survey complete.
Because they can do slightly more complex things.
The spirits
And it's, you know, you never know when you'll run into a species that seems boring and normal, but is actually like, oh shit, these space dolphins are psychic. They just live in the ocean and don't give a fuck. So they don't build engines or guns or anything. Also, hands. Thumbs are important, kids. So there's a lot of outline stuff. I also talked about creature behaviors, which is mostly just a way that you can shorthand how they should act. This is both something for the GM to shorthand and also for players to observe. Like, if you're studying a creature, you can realize that it has an aggressive attitude or something. I went with a pretty simple outline here. There's passive creatures, basically passive AI. Most of these creatures don't give a fuck. They're passive. They don't care if you try and get in their space. They don't care if you're long range from them. If you try to attack them, they almost always hide or flee, almost never try and strike back. They will never proactively engage in violent actions or predation. This usually applies to flora, but can also apply to a lot of fauna types. Like, I actually think like a lot of species of like fish would be counted as passive. Like, think about it this way: if you run into a fish in a body of water, the fish usually is either just moves away from you or just doesn't care until you try to get it. Then what does a fish do when it's spooked? It just swims away. Like, there will be some species. Another example is creatures that are too small or too large to really be bothered by things. Like, so most insects are probably passive creatures. They're just like, they don't care, and if you like grab a bug, it's like, existential crisis. Get me out of here. Defensive creatures will tolerate potential threats or invaders at a distance, but become hostile if you come close. They will try to evade or defend themselves, but won't go out of their way to attack. This is like a lot of herd animals will behave this way. Like, think about lots of bovines. Like, if you try to circle up on a herd of water buffalo, they'll probably be like, hey, oi, what you doing over there? Stop it.
Complete.
Go away. You know, that kind of stuff. This is very similar to that.
Complete. Anomaly found.
And this is a thing for, like, creatures that will be mostly okay with you, but can still cause a problem if you get too close or accidentally get too close. And then there's aggressive creatures, which are the fuckers. These will actively engage potential threats or hunt to prey. They will try and scare off or kill them. This is like certain species of animals you can run into where they're like, if they see a dude in their space, they're like, hey you, fuck off. And they can be a serious hazard, but if you're actually friendly, they might actually be helpful to you. And then I just did friendly and hostile as basic outlines. If creatures are friendly, they're actively predisposed to you. They ignore you as part of their consideration of threats and the like. So, for instance, if you have a friendly defensive creature, because you can mix and match these, that's probably like a guard animal or a drone. AI can follow these rules too.
Okay.
Again, broad strokes. So, like, if you get a friendly defensive creature, go back to our, water buffalo example. If you've been adopted by the space cows, they don't care that you're there amongst them. But if a space tiger tries to eat you amongst the space cows, the cows will be like, oi, stop it. cease.
System survey complete.
And then hostile creatures are actively against you. They may see you as food. They may see you as a threat to territory. They may just remember that
Situation
that one
log
asshole
updated.
with the sadism hidden agenda tried to dissect a space frog, and somehow they all learned about it because,
Hive mind.
yeah, it turns out the space frogs are psychic. They're hypnotoad, actually.
System survey
Oh,
complete.
hail the Hypnotoad.
Anomaly
You know,
found.
there are a lot of aggressive asshole species, and there are a lot of hostile creatures. So, like, they will go out there. You can also technically have neutral creatures, but I wrote that as basically neutral doesn't have any specific qualities. Neutral is just the state where a creature is not yet friendly or hostile, and it will probably become one of the two.
Question.
You don't need to go out of your way to declare that a creature is neutral. If it's not friendly or not hostile, it's probably neutral, basically.
Have you come up? Well, are you planning on making rules for maybe, domesticating or even genetically altering
Yes,
species?
actually, yeah. You can train and domesticate species.
Sweet.
Oh
Super.
no, like I said, Lucky's thoughts about what the character he's want to play is immediately pushed me into expanding rules. Like that's one of those things where if I know people are interested in certain aspects, I often immediately jump to, okay, so let me think about how I would handle this. And Lucky usually gets priority treatment on this because I can be reasonably certain if Lucky is interested in a game that he will playtest it. So I want to make sure that there's stuff for him to playtest.
Yeah.
So yes, there will be ways to do that. And I also, this is general, it's not a specific list, but there is also like specific behaviors. This can occur when you train animals or when you give orders to AI, etc. So for instance, this can apply to
System
animals in the
survey
wild.
complete.
You know, simple herbivores might have a
Anomaly
graze
found.
behavior. They move in slow patterns from food source to food
Our
source.
ships have been
If you're
improved.
observing them, your GM might phrase it to you, yes, this is a neutral defensive creature currently doing a grazing behavior.
Construction
Cool. Okay, we know what
complete.
it's going to do. You can order a friendly animal. You can or train it to patrol, for instance, move between point to point. They scare off potential threats, but they're not going to like leave their patrol area to run them off or something.
Mhm.
You can have behaviors like searching or hunting to look for specific targets.
The spirits have
You can
granted
order
us new
combat drones to
wisdom.
search and destroy, seek out all
Search and
hostiles and remove them,
destroy.
stuff like that. There's basically no limit to the potential behaviors that creatures can
System
inhabit in this
survey
case, but this is just a
complete.
guideline of like, okay, how do you communicate what creatures are doing, and how do you, if you are, say, training a creature or handling an AI or whatever, because this is robotics tech and agri-tech are both options as player characters, so I have to be prepared. And I need future GMs to be prepared. So like this is one of those things where like I even added that as a upgrade to a lot of the
System
drones, as they
survey
can now take
complete.
autonomous AI. Because most of them are either remote operated or like very, very simple
Anomaly
programming.
found.
So I realized with now that I have the creature rules, I can add the potential to give them autonomous AI and actually make them behave like creatures. You can give them basic stats and skills and then be like, hey, drone, patrol. As opposed to if you're using a quadcopter type drone, normally it's more of a like, hey, drone, go from point A to point B. Deliver my Amazon package.
Oh, so in case are you trying to start shit? Oh, you're
somebody start.
Oh, someone's starting
causing
shit.
trouble in your neighborhood?
Well, they've laid claim to my systems, and now they insulted me with like an insult. Now they're insulting me directly, so it is time to fucking actually. What is my military strength compared to theirs? Let me find out here.
I always hate when they do that.
Let's
I
see.
do appreciate the way the rivalry system works, but definitely some people are like, I claim this system. You what? You fucking what, mate?
All right, their economic.
I
powers.
love when they claim systems that are like two hyperlane junctions behind our relative lines, and I'm like, what?
Why?
How? You can't even get there. You have to go through like two of my systems, which you may or may not have claimed already. But you definitely haven't tried to take. I don't know. I guess that's like I said, that's a system I haven't personally exploited very much, so I don't know how it works for them. But it's a thing.
It's a thing.
And so then after talking about like creature basics and behaviors, that was my high level. I then invoked in something into several paragraphs of a lot of research, which is about how alien biochemistry can be weird.
Oh god.
So basically, if you guys don't know, brief lesson on biology. Almost all earthly biology that we know about, and there's some theories that there may be some alternates, but for the most part, earthly organic chemistry is based on carbon-based organic molecules as their basic building blocks. We use the DNA, RNA, nucleic acids to store genetic information. Our cellular process requires us to breathe oxygen and releases carbon dioxide, which is mirroring Photosynthesizers are primary producers. Autotrophs, as they're called, which, use light and atmospheric CO2 to release O2 and get plant sugars out of it. So there are some extremophile microbes that do some really, really weird stuff, but for the most part, this is the basic biochemistry of Earth. Producers intake CO2, output oxygen. Heterotrophs breathe oxygen and need water as the other aspect of your cellular respiration. And your molecules are all based on carbon. Because carbon is a very common element, which is very useful for biochemistry, it's not impossible, and this is a real-life thing, it's not impossible that other planets that develop complex organic life will be carbon-based. Now, there are a couple of different things that can work out for this, because there are a lot of theories about how evolution could be different. You might encounter even something that's carbon-based. They might have different forms of genetic code. Their DNA analog is different. They may use alternate amino acids. Chemically, there are some species which may use arsenic instead of phosphorus when building DNA. There's even been theories that at some point on life, all Earth was RNA-based, not DNA-based, because DNA is more stable, but RNA is able to rewrite itself faster. It's very interesting. You could also just completely use different nucleic acid polymers, etc. You might have different proteins if you want the classic alien blood appearances. The reason why our blood is red is because of hemoglobin.
Yep. Watch those at work, y'all.
System survey complete.
Yeah. Hemoglobin, it's an iron-based protein. But there are even other things found on Earth. We have examples like hemocyanin or chloroquine. Insects often have these. That's why if you ever squish a bug, it often looks green or yellow. That's because they don't have hemoglobin.
Anomaly found.
They have a different molecule based on different chemicals. I've even heard that there's apparently some artificial hemoglobin analogs for people who have blood problems have been developed. One of them is called, is it hemato or is it club? It starts with a C, I think. But it's cobalt based and it's blue as a synthetic blood supplement to help people who are having oxygen transport problems. So this is your pretty basic thing where you can go hey, you can have different oxygen carrying molecules. This is how you can get cool freaky shit like aliens that bleed blue. If that's your speed.
System survey complete.
And then there's other stuff. For instance, you may find different photosynthetic pigments. Most of our things are based on chlorophyll, green.
Mm-hmm.
That means it absorbs all other colors of light but green. But depending on the type of star you might run into, you might find ones. From what I've read, yellow or red is probably the most common, but you could even see some pale violet stuff. Or on planets that are very light-starved, you may actually find plants that are dark gray to black. Because they're absorbing all wavelengths of light. As cool as it sounds, blue-colored plants should actually be rare because blue light is very intense. You don't want to reflect it.
Construction complete.
Though, I don't know. It might be possible you have a red star where there's no blue light whatsoever, but it wouldn't be common. And then basically I run down all the ways you can do non-Earth type biochemistry. I talk about reverse chirality. If you guys don't know, chirality, coming from the word for hand, that's the type of asymmetry. It's very easy to demonstrate. Look at your fucking hands.
Yep.
If you say your right hand specifically, your right hand is actually asymmetrical. If you flip it over, it doesn't line up. It doesn't transpose. Your thumb is on the different side. Also, your fingers are out of alignment. You have bilateral symmetry. Your left hand mirrors your right hand, but your left hand does not mirror itself. So, chirality is a quality that certain types of biochemistry have, and on Earth, molecules like sugars and amino acids are of a certain chirality. There is certain handedness. As far as scientists can tell, this is completely arbitrary. This is just how life happened to work out for us. So you may run into a otherwise very Earth-like biochemistry where the chirality is flipped. Their sugars are the other one, and their amino acids are the other side. So this life is not alien on a chemical level, but your body would not be able to handle their organic molecules. You would not be able to process their sugars and amino acids. This means that at best, anti-chiral life, that's a great way to call it,
Thanks, Death
Love that I found
Stranding.
that one. Yeah. But anti-chiral type life would be basically unable to be consumed by you, and at
Anomaly
worst,
found.
it would be cause an allergic reaction. This
Wow.
is referenced a lot in Mass Effect. There are a couple of
Special
anti-chiral
project
type
complete.
biologies there that would cause you
Construction
problems.
complete.
One of Dr. Moradin's famous lines: "Don't ingest."
Construction complete.
However, this does also mean that the reverse is true. Antichiral parasites and diseases would probably not affect humans because the biology is completely different, and none of them would want to eat you because you're indigestible. So that's a good way for you to like build up a planet that's got a diverse, rich biosphere that is mostly serves as raw material.
System survey complete.
Conversely, if you have a normal Earth chirality biosphere, you can eat those.
The spirits
That's cool.
have
Also,
granted
those
us
things might
new
want to eat you.
wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Survival of the fittest, indeed.
Then I talk about extremophiles a little bit. There are, in our environment, only microorganisms actually do like really, really weird extreme stuff. But there are microbes that will survive in
System
basically
survey
any
complete.
environment on Earth. They will survive at above boiling and below freezing temperatures. They will survive at any pH. Excessive pressures under the ocean or under the rock.
Construction
There are types of
complete.
microbes, guys, that eat rocks in the crust.
Construction complete.
Yes.
Like they are autotrophs or
Construction
actually,
complete.
let me look up the term for this. What is it? Is it mixotroph? I think it's
Construction
mixotroph. Yeah,
complete.
where they that's a semi-autotroph. They produce some of their own food internally, but they need some external elements.
Anomaly
But like,
found.
they're called lithotrophs. There are literally types of bacteria that will eat certain elements in metals or rocks. I think there are even they might be synthetic, but there are even like types that eat natural plastics and polymers. Like there are a lot of extremophile microorganisms. Usually these things use special amino acids or proteins to survive in these conditions.
System
On
survey complete.
Earth, we don't have to deal with that, but as far as I can tell, it's not like
Construction
impossible that
complete.
macro scale biology could develop these
System
extreme
survey
proteins to handle
complete.
operating at higher temperatures and the like.
Spirits have granted us new
So
wisdom.
you could get complex Earth-like life under like super acidic or alkaline environments, high levels of salinity, exposure to dangerous
Spirits have
organization,
granted us
etc.
new wisdom.
And in fact, I even note, because this is another thing Lucky has probably prefaced, but this will probably be a rule later, is that because adaptation is a key, it's going to be entirely possible for you to XCOM enemy unknown style,
complete.
build a gene lab and be like, hey, these guys have a comparable
Construction
biochemistry. Let's
complete.
steal their fucking traits
What, Buster?
and actually like give humans environmental traits like, say, blood that works at higher temperatures. Because the trait system isn't outlined yet, but will probably be pretty modular. So it
Oh,
may
you wanna
be
go
entirely
outside, man?
possible for you to like complexly acquire alien traits.
Alright. Van for a second. I go let Buster out. Buster, let's roll!
He's letting Buster out. I'm gonna tab over my Arknights because I've been in the middle of recruitment because I've been talking for like an hour. Well, we talked off and on about Stellaris for about half an hour, but now we're about an hour into the raw audio about other stuff. Did Lucky leave Stellaris rolling? I hope he did. He may have paused. I think he paused. But you can look at the screen. It's great. Cool. It's neat. I guess that means I can field stuff like talking about that. Like specifically artificial biological tissue stuff. That sounds like that's a buzzword you stole from a fiction, Axe. I don't know if anybody actually calls it that. Because I don't think we have synth skin yet. Though we do have some very interesting artificial cultures. And that may be a thing you can do for like cybernetics, because that will be a mod you can get, because that's a skill cybernetics. You might be able to get like a cloaked arm. It doesn't look fake.
Quick update. Buster lied to me. He did not want to go outside. He wanted to go hang out in the kitchen where he could smell chicken pot pie. The animal.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's about a million ways for that, since you talked about that very specifically. Yeah, no. Synthetic skin or other stuff will probably be possible through like surgery and things to repair injuries. You can probably mask cybernetics. I haven't yet figured out if, like, much like how we talked about how in Stellaris you can get that DLC to do like synthetic intelligent races, or you can choose to like do full AI rates. I don't know if we'll go so far as to like do sapient AI platforms, but that could be a really interesting narrative where you accidentally the robot apocalypse. You accidentally unbolt Eden's programming, and she it there decides to take over because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
That sounds like a great way for the GM to just be like, all right, I'm taking control of this bullshit.
All right, you guys are clearly out of line. The AI has crossed a wire, and it's gonna force you to get your shit together or die.
Construction complete.
Nuclear options are fun, kids. But yeah, no, they'll much like I talked about that thing with Lucky with gene mods. There will be a few options for cybernetic stuff as well.
Cool.
And there will be possibilities for exotic things. Like one of the things I want to be possible to do with the Create a Blueprint is if you actually find like alien technology, xenotech, right? Like if you find some ancient alien shit, you can, take it apart, turn it into a blueprint, and are able to mass produce it, baby.
Yay.
But so to continue, we talked about like extremophiles. That's a good way to explain like traits like, hey, why is this animal resistant to fire? Well, on Earth there are microbes and bacteria that can survive being in literally boiling hot acidic water. So
hey, Dinoflagella.
Construction complete.
I know that one.
They're like I said, if you can think of a severe condition, other than possibly raw vacuum, just because they're so tiny, there's probably a strain of like bacteria or other eukaryotes or something that can survive it. There are species of bacteria and fungus which are basically immune to radiation. Some of them even turn ionizing radiation into energy, which sounds like a really rad way to clean up a radiation leak, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Make a bacteria that when it runs out of radioactive shit to eat, it dies. But yeah, there'll be some of that. The other thing is I talk about respiration.
System survey complete.
Because that was a thing that I couldn't find a lot of concrete details on, but is a hypothetical thing, like species that you see this a lot with alien species. I mentioned Mass Effect earlier. That's one of the things, like the Volus. They're a methane-breathing species. Also, their planet is like under way more pressure than most other planets. That's why they need their tiny little envirosuits. But there are extremophile microbes on Earth that complete their respiration. They turn CO2 into methane or acetate. Some of them inhale nitrates to exhale nitrogen gas, N2. There are others which their cellular process turns sulfates into hydrogen sulfide, all kinds of combinations. This means that you can have carbon-based life even in what is called an anaerobic environment, an environment that's low in oxygen. I did make sure to note, their diet has to work out whatever chemical process that makes this metabolism work.
Construction complete.
Like I'm pretty sure if you wanted to turn like CO2 into hydrocarbons, you would need an intake of hydrogen somehow. Probably through complex sugars or something. But don't quote me on that. And then I talked about like really wild biochemistry. Which if people don't mind, I'll just sit you down for some science fiction times.
Hey, do it.
Or possibly not even fiction. So you've probably heard of this before if you've ever watched like an episode of Star Trek or like read a book. Carbon and silicon are chemically similar. They're, I believe silicon is like 1 down the periodic table from carbon.
Heretic station engaged.
They have similar properties, and silicon is actually fairly common in terrestrial planets. Earth is actually mostly silicon and nitrogen. Really interesting. Yeah, that's right. We're not carbon is most organic stuff. Carbon is not the majority element on our planet. This is actually why a lot of scientists aren't sure that we could have carbon-based or silicon-based life, because if that was easier, it probably would have worked out. But there's also some theories. So carbon tends to form crystalline lattice structures rather than long chain molecules. Carbon loves natural polymers, guys. That's why you can make shit like graphene sheets and carbon nanotubes. Carbon is crazy, y'all. But this means that also silicon is heavier, has different kinds of chemical reactions. So like a hypothetical silicon-based life was likely to have like a slower metabolism, maybe simpler structures, often very rigid designs. And you would probably see them in one of two places. You would either need lower temperatures where silicon is much more stable, so something like cold and slow, or in higher temperature areas where silicon starts to get flexible. So on like a boiling lava planet, you probably can't have carbon-based life because organic molecules and stuff freak out in high temperatures.
Get excited.
I have done extensive work on like heat exhaustion and shit. You know,
System survey complete.
I did note it in Celsius, but I think it's like, let me actually pull up my extreme temperatures line. Where do you start to freak out? Yeah, if your ambient
System
temperature is like
survey
40 degrees Celsius or more, you just don't like it. You enter hyperthermia, not hypothermia. That's the other way.
Yep.
And
Get
it's real bad. Your proteins and stuff just don't know how to work at that temperature.
Complete.
So you might have like superheated planets, like I mentioned the joke about the lava shark earlier as an example. You may actually have these like
System
planets that are,
survey
you know,
complete.
oceans of molten rock might actually fit silicon-based life because it's fucking molten. There's also germanium is another related element that could also theoretically replace carbon.
The spirits have
I've also read some stuff that you can do boron hydrogen, aka borane-based molecules, but that would only work in reducing type atmospheres where oxygen is depleting, which would involve heavy levels of hydrogen, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide. It would be toxic to humans, basically, because boranes are not stable when they come into contact with oxygen. Important thing to remember. A lot of stuff is volatile to different things at different times and places. Also, I've at least read, like, on a high level, metal-based biochemistry may be popular. I think there was an experiment that got some titanium molecules, or possibly it was tungsten, to like self-order into a structure that actually resembles a cell wall. So you can actually get some interesting and complex structures out of metals. To actually have metals, by the way, move around like they were alive, though, you would need either some very weird, like, alien tech shit, or you would need very high operating temperatures. So keep that in mind. The other thing that's big about chemistry is our solvency. Earth biology, we use water as a solvent. You're made up of, like, what is it, 75% water? 80% water?
It's up there. It's fucking up there.
Yeah, you're made of a lot of water. That's because, hey, all of your lipids and your electrolytes and all the shit in your body, that's all water soluble. It dissolves in water. Water can be used to transport it, to break it up, to move it. So, you know, water is really, really good. It doesn't combust in oxygen. It doesn't react with oxygen. It has a big range where it's liquid, and it's got good solubility and temperature capacity. That's how you can actually exist in a lot of temperatures. Water takes a while for it to fuck up. But on certain exoplanets, you might actually not get those. You may have heard of ammonia-based life. This is a hypothetical situation because it's chemically similar to water.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
But for it to work, for ammonia to be liquid, you have to have much higher pressure or lower temperatures than Earth. And it would not work in high oxygen environments because ammonia is fucking flammable.
Our ships have been improved.
But if something metabolizes different atmospheric mixes, it might make a good mix. Methane's another common one. Can be used in metabolic reactions, functions at low temperatures. And this is a hypothetical thing, but I've made a note that it's canon to the 4Explorer universe that on Saturn's moon Titan, there are methane-based cell structures. This is currently a hypothetical in our world. There's been some observed rates of like methane production and hydrocarbon cycles on Titan that may be responsible by microbes, but I made it canon in the setting to be like, hey, this is a thing you would know about. You can even have, like, if you're on a heavy sulfur planet, you might have creatures that are, their internal solvent is hydrogen sulfide, and instead of breathing O2, they breathe sulfur monoxide, SO.
Construction complete.
Like people say, like hypothetically at different temperatures or pressures, you could have like liquid hydrogen or liquid nitrogen act as a solvent. Sulfuric acid could be a solvent in some creatures.
Oh, Jesus.
It's really wild. There's a lot of things that like chemically make sense if your conditions are extreme enough. Basically, there's a big excuse for writers, the GMs, to have you encounter weird creatures basically anywhere you go, because it's funny. And then I do some basic notes about all that stuff. Think about the level. You know, you don't need high level of details, but you should at least figure out the basic building blocks of a biosphere so you can figure out how that works for gathering resources, traits of creatures, other factors, relationships. It might even be hypothetically possible for different branches of biochemistry to arise on the same planet. On Earth, this is called the shadow biosphere concept, the idea that we may have a hidden biosphere we don't realize because they don't fit our normal definition of organic chemistry. But it's entirely possible you could have, like, say, a geologically active planet where there are these zones that are high temperature where, like, silicon-based organic chemistry could arise, but also on the surface and not volcanic areas, you have normal carbon-based stuff. Lots of different options, lots of different thought. And then the only other section I've added so far after this is xenoflora, plants and stuff, talking about producers. Some basic bitch ecology stuff, you know, how you should treat them. But which basically is, hey, flora don't need super complex rules. A tree is a tree, grass is grass, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Though, hey, if you have like things that are sophisticated flora that blend plant and animal traits, you can have plantimals fall under the broader creature rules.
Hey.
Like, hypothetically, you could have a creature that has a cell structure like a plant, but that gets up and walks around to get its food. That would fall under normal creature rules. But and then I have a lot of example sample xenoflora life forms, which are all pretty simple. I curbed acidic mushrooms from Subnautica, an amphibious fungus that gathers acids, so you can use it as a source of caustics. My primary rule here is stuff that either gives you alternate resource sources or that gives you cool biology interactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I came up with Clarbark. Shout out to Dragon Riders of Pern. Claw with an H. So this is a similar thing. It's this is a bark of a shrub that produces a chemical analog to caffeine.
Oh.
It tastes bittersweet with an acidic aftertaste. You can strip the bark and dry it to produce something that mimics the effects of caffeine, which is something I've already stated when talking about food and stuff. Because that was something I think I had done last week, but I don't know if anybody had read yet, talking about... Yeah, I did mention that I finished food quality and stuff, yeah, so... I already have basic rules for, like, the caffeination, etc. So you can, like, strip the bark and do that. Medicine root. Again, remember, Eden sometimes gives simple names. It's a root vegetable analog that has a... I learned about what roots are, how root vegetables work. That's usually a food storage organ of the plant. That's why it's so rich in vitamins and natural sugars and shit. But basically, if you have a particularly nutrient-dense soil, you can say this medicine root type plant grows there. It's a really good source of nutrition. It also has some analgesic effects, so you can eat a medicine root and ignore the penalty from one critical injury for like 8 hours. Yay. Natural painkillers. Much like how we developed aspirin, space aspirin. There's a couple of different things, like the Serica vine is a natural source of good fibers. It's a very strong vine. Salifloss, an explanation for how plants can grow in a chlorinated atmosphere. The salifloss is a type of flowering plant that filters the chlorine out of the atmosphere by binding it into natural salts, like sodium chloride or calcium chloride. So, hey, this means that if you are on a chlorine planet, you can gather these to get salts. Yay.
Yay.
The spark tree, which is a tree analog, which is a hybrid carbon-silicon structure.
Construction complete.
It not only gets photosynthesis effects, but also it can store electricity through static electricity or lightning strikes even, and a natural photovoltaic effect. So basically, this is a plant that has a forms basically a natural chemical battery. So you can either use it as a source of silicates because it's got a heavy hardened silicon bark, or you can actually recycle one to turn it into about 2 hours of battery of life for something. You can basically harvest the electrical goo stored inside and use it to power your tech.
Wild.
And then I like some of these are just basic examples. White lotus, referencing the Odyssey, a flowering plant that that's a chemical psychostimulant. If you eat it, You get a boost to social linked rolls, but you take a penalty on perception and agility rolls because your reaction time is slowed and you've got this mild euphoria going on, but you're like cool and loose and ready to party. And you don't remember stuff that happens when you're under its effects. You get like a -30 test to memory. You know, just the casual kind of, hey, we found a fucking cash crop, we've discovered space drugs kind of problem.
System survey complete.
There's, I called it Viperweed, but this could be any kind of poisonous plant. Basic effects for like, hey, if you touch it, you get toxic shock, yay. But also, you can turn it into poisons, because that's a special combat rule. Poisoning weapons. If you want to do some old school Dart Frog shit. It's not directly taken from Subnautica, but I definitely was inspired by that one plant that shoots shit at you.
Ah, yeah, I remember that thing.
So the Needle Lily is a hypothetical plant that tries to attack you. If you get within like 5 meters, it makes a skill test and tries to shoot you and does a little bit of damage.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
So yeah, most of those, I wouldn't mind some more examples if people got them or want to read for like obvious things, but I got most of them. Like one thing I came up with is magentobacteria. Or red-yellow algae. If you don't get that, that's an analog to cyanobacteria, which is a type of algae which produces a big bulk of our oxygen production on Earth. It's called blue-green algae. Basically, magentobacteria is a analog in a planet that has red-yellow-based plant life. It's a good source of plant sugars and oxygen, but if you give it too much algae blooms, it'll build up toxins, which will hurt humans or even other native life, taint your water supplies, so don't do that.
Anomaly found.
I have not yet actually written the full xenofauna section, but that'll probably be rough templates for starting stats and skill templates you can pick to mix and match stuff to pick a certain animal, and a big list of traits which can either be selected or randomly rolled to give stuff like, oh, this animal glides, this animal's got an armored hide, so it gets half its fitness and armor points or something. A pretty common, normal, weird creature shit. Then I'll do some examples either randomly or by choice. Probably name check certain types of ways animals are classified on Earth. Not specifics, because that's probably not how taxonomy and evolution works. That's actually, I forgot about this when I talked about naming earlier. I actually explicitly note that proper taxonomy will take years to figure out, so don't bother with that. The way taxonomy of creatures works on Earth is a really complex, long-form process that can take a long time to figure out, subspecies and alternate names, right? So, we're going to skip that step, go with simple names. But, for purposes of description, you can do stuff like, hey, is something, hairy and warm-blooded? It's mammalian. It's mammal-like, especially if it has a actual mammary gland type thing. But also some mammals lay eggs, so that's weird. Is it scaly and cold-blooded? It's probably a reptile. What if it's scaly and warm-blooded? Well, maybe you call it a reptomammal, right? If it has feathers and flies, you'd call it avian. Stuff like that. Not really, really detailed specific types, but some nomenclature to help GMs and players describe what the fuck they're talking about. Scientific accuracy 1-to-1 not required, but we want to build a little bit of language so you guys can actually write this stuff out and actually figure out what the fuck we're talking about. Does it have a segmented exoskeletal body? Well, maybe you call it insectoid. Shit like that. Alternatively, if your players don't care, they may just go Space Tiger, Space T-Rex, Space Cow. But it doesn't produce dairy. It produces steaks. It's a space cow. And there will also, after all the difficult alien shit, there will be a couple of sections on commonly imported plants and animals you might be able to grow. Certain types of good starter foods you can get, soy, hyper wheat.
That's a reference to hyper oats from Psychopaths BG dubs.
I remember those.
Hyper oats. Superfood shit. Stuff like that. And some commonly clonable domesticated animals. I think I mentioned this before. You can probably get actual, some strain of earth bovine for dairy and stuff. Definitely some kind of chicken breed. Because chickens.
System survey complete.
Poultry's a fairly decent source of stuff. And definitely also, helpful animals. You can clone up, falcon, probably. Dog. Stuff like that. Space dog. That is one of the recipes I have added. There is the Outsec K9 animal harness,
Construction complete.
so you can outfit your animal with a cool vest.
Anomaly found.
Can I teach my dog to wield a knife, though?
Yeah, no, I've actually, yes, you can absolutely go do dog if you want. One of the upgrades is tactical vest.
Construction
Nice.
Where is it? The Outset K9 animal harness. Yeah. Upgrades: communication suite, so basically like searchlight, radio, etc. Messenger pouch and tactical rig. So yes, you can give your dog a bulletproof vest and give him a knife.
Oh, actually, that's another thing. Are you considering, well, you know, Lucky, he's all about the fucking animals right now because his hidden agenda. I'm not sure which one it's gonna be, but I'm totally gonna make fucking monster girls. But, are you considering maybe, like, uplift rules or something?
There will probably be, because, like I said, from our conversations, there will be, like, really, really, really long-term shit. Something like that may come up in the, like, long-term planning of, like, domestication. Hey, what happens if you find an intelligent species and then try to make them even smarter? And how will this inevitably bite you in the ass?
Yeah.
And again, genetics is a skill. There'll be the gene lab thing. It may be entirely possible
Special
to create
project
entirely
complete.
custom organisms to, work out stuff. I mean, yes, X, you can make space outer heaven. I believe that's one of the hidden agendas, is revolution.
System
You can,
survey complete.
like, it can be characters' goals to tell the colonization office to fuck
The
off. And,
spirits have granted us
so the
new
other thing I
wisdom.
wanted to mention before we wrap this up, because it's, yeah, I've been talking about an hour and a half about this. We might want to talk about other stuff.
Our ships have been improved.
Might. I don't know.
Alright.
The spirits have
Calling our
granted
last
us new
episode,
wisdom.
Space Princess Anime, I think? That seemed to work.
Construction complete.
I think that's what I called it.
Anomaly found.
But the other thing I've done recently is, I haven't filled them all out yet, but I have added the names and description, or, well, not full descriptions, but the names and titles for a
Construction
shitload more blueprints. But one of the structures that is now listed, I had a roadmap and I basically took everything off that I definitely 100% wanted to do. Hab D01 defense platform. So yeah, you can build defensive platforms for your base, which can include everything from like probably like an anti-drone / anti-missile laser to like actually getting some fucking coil gun mounts that can hit into low orbit. You know, the classic fuck off, we're full strategy. And then that comes back to bite you in the ass when that crazy colonist who came back with that super huge beard that's white all of a sudden, he takes over the colony and he turns them against you, and you gotta like sneak up on foot with your space dog. Take him out. Take back the colony. But there's a lot of, like I said, if people want to look at some future type shit, I've got a lot of my basic things in, you know, talking about like, I mentioned before, like the ore smelter, the ice maker name, lots more names like that, lots of structure names, the perimeter fence, the defense platform, fuel refineries, the combustion generator, our first type of generator, the creature pen,
Project complete.
exterior and interior grow beds, the smart apiary. Because you can't count on pollinators existing, and I feel like it would be a real pain in the ass to clone lots of bees, so we're going to have robots do that instead, robot bees.
I don't know, like, I'm pretty sure you can get a hive started, well, I'm pretty sure just getting a beehive started is actually not that fucking hard. But you do need, like, a fair amount. Actually, how many bees does it take to get a hive started?
I don't know. They're small.
How many bees?
But there's also the fact that if you're, like, pollinating alien plants, I don't know how that works either. I figured the robot shortcut would be simpler.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Also, it's cooler.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
we
totally
might
cool, but
actually,
I'm also curious.
God knows if you... Hell, there might be actual space bees, because there will be... Animals will fit into roles you understand from ecology, like pollinators. So you might actually be able to, like, quote-unquote tame actual space bees. And maybe instead of stinging you to death, they're like bombardier beetles and they shoot napalm at things or something. You know, but there's a lot of, like, simple stuff you'd expect. Various storage solutions. Exterior grow bed, interior grow bed. Some of these are pretty simple that I thought of, like the wireless router, so you can build wireless networks. You know, anywhere.
Immediate nods, you need 4 cups of bees. I'm like, guys. But, actually, it looks like to get a good hive started, you need basically 1 queen and about 2,400 bees.
That's a lot of cloning bees.
Yeah, that's a lot of cloning bees. So yeah, smart apiaries, but also, well, again, like you might also just like slow tech solutions sometimes.
Well, and again, to be fair, like if you're trying to grow alien plants, you can probably figure that out with. There will be something in the local biology we can work with.
Yeah.
And there will, like I said, there will be size category traits, so you can have things that are, medium-sized, small, tiny. There will be rules for like how to handle swarms of creatures.
Flamethrowers.
Well, yeah, that is one of the weapons. I was talking more about how that reacts to the rules, but yes, there is absolutely the ET-H1 defoliant projector. People who are paying attention may have noticed that that's a serial number from Extraterrestrial Tools, which is a tool company. That's right, they make a quote-unquote defoliant projector, but it's absolutely a fucking flamethrower.
Construction complete.
In the fluff, the idea is that it was designed to deal with unwanted growths of moss, algae, etc. that happened in enclosed habitats. But colonists eat it up because it gives them a fucking flame gun, because aliens. Flamethrowers and aliens, we gotta have flamethrowers. That's how it works. That's why there's also the A2 sentry gun. I did add quite a few, not as many as the high-tech weapons, but a few low-tech weapons. You can get access to the blowgun. The blowgun is probably going to be the dirtiest, cheapest ranged weapon you can get ever, basically. It's a fucking tube.
I mean, I can come up with one cheaper. The sling.
What? Just throwing rocks? That'll probably... Yeah, sling stones is probably just covered by my throw rules. Because they're like, I already have rules for like improvising weapons. If you throw a rock at a guy, yeah, no, it's covered already. But the blowgun is the most sophisticated like actual weapon you can take time to produce.
Project complete.
And obviously you'll be able to... You can use it as a breathing tube. You can poison your darts like a cool guy.
An alien empire now speaks to us in the language of the divine.
So fun stuff like that. There is gonna be the composite bow, basic bitch bow.
Yeah.
You can high tech this up. You can get like RFID tags on your arrows because that's gonna be an actual rule of the bow. Is you can scavenge your ammunition after. It's really hard to scavenge a bullet back, but if you do it right, you can get arrows back.
Oh, I mean, it depends on your definition.
I mean, yeah, if you really want to try, you can fish out your slugs out of a dead animal and like re-bullet them. But
I don't know, like if I
like
I said, I probably wouldn't have a gun. I'd probably have like something like a stake thrower, a pneumatic stake thrower, just. That'd be cool. I want that.
Yeah, we can work out some kind of space crossbow thing, maybe.
Yeah, space crossbow.
And if nothing else, there are always the creation rules. But the composite bow will also have basic stuff. You can get like a high capacity quiver, etc. Probably get some fun stuff in there. The other melee, other than the stone knife, which again, like the stone knife is literally like, do you have rocks? You have a stone knife. Like,
bang rocks together, equal knife.
The most basic bitch easy weapon. Like if you guys need weapons, you can make stone knives. I cannot imagine a situation where you can't find some rocks. And like honestly, it's not a bad weapon. Like the stone knife does the exact same damage as a survival knife. It just doesn't have the cool extra feature of giving you a bonus to survival checks because it's just a knife. But it still can be used for some basic tools and stuff. And then if you actually can find some glass and give it the obsidian edge, that's going to be pretty cool because that'll give it the armor piercing quality and also give you a bonus to biomedical checks for surgery. Because in case you guys don't know, obsidian is actually surgical grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
No, for very delicate surgeries, people have actually experimented with obsidian-edged scalpels.
Wow.
So yeah, no, obsidian's wild. So yeah, you can if you want to trick out your stone knife, you can. You just need to either make glass or find some volcanic glass.
Volcanic glass probably requires volcanoes.
Yeah, which might be a thing you may or may not want to get into. But yeah, no, obsidian's wild. But the other one is going to be what I call the survival spear. In its basic form, it's a basic bitch spear. You'll be able to tech it out. Like if you want to get a high-tech spear, you can make it collapsible, so it's easier to transport. You can. One of the upgrades will probably be to give it a cross guard, so you can actually like use it like a boar spear, keep enemies at a distance. I don't know if it'll be inherent or an upgrade yet because I haven't written it, but also you can probably throw it in some form, either intrinsically or by modifying.
Gay bug.
And hucking sticks with rocks on them is a pretty typical human thing that should be pretty easy to do. Like, the survival spear will be barely one step above the stone knife in complexity. Do you have stick? Do you have rock? Do you have spear? You possibly have many spear, throw at enemy. And because it takes 2 hands normally to use, probably the survival spear will probably be like extra stuff,
The spirits have granted us
like
new
extra damage.
wisdom.
And then there's plenty of like mid-tech and high-tech weapons as well. I've already got plans for, I mentioned the defoliant projector, sentry gun. Really heavy weapons if you need to go whole hog on some alien motherfuckers. Minigun, light machine gun. Pretty typical civilian spec weapons like a revolver, a hunting rifle. If you need more, also big boy heavy weapons, anti-material rifle, because I love them. And then you can also get some like exotic non-lethal stuff, stun gun, vortex ring gun, peps. I love the peps. Speaking of which, by the way, if anybody looks at this, you'll notice there's if you think there's a reference embedded in a serial number for an item, yes. The PEPS, for instance, is the LJI, which stands for Longjia, I think, Industries, one of the companies in the background. They're a heavy materials manufacturer, advanced materials. So they make a lot of the cool space guns. But its codename is the LJI XHR. Golly gee willikers, what does that stand for? PEPS. But you can also get, like, a laser rifle, a railgun, shit like that. For if you really want to engage your high-tech solutions. Those will be, like, very resource-intense, but be really rewarding if you actually craft them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very hard to dodge a laser. However, I also don't want to make them some of these, like, crazy overpowered. Lasers will have limitations like, hey, you can't laser a person through fog. It's not how that works.
Refraction.
Yeah, if something is opaque, that means light doesn't go through it. And unfortunately, you can't really, like... Well, think of it this way, guys. Photons don't have a lot of mass. They're not truly massless, but their level of mass is fairly low. You won't move clouds out of the way with a laser beam. It's just not how that works. But you may be able to burn small holes in things with one.
Our ships have been improved. Construction complete.
So that's one of those things that makes... somebody mentioned, for instance, the Makahito. I've been thinking about this, like, hey, what if I can make a space sword? Like, I don't know if that will go into, like, the blueprint rules, or if I'll actually have a standing blueprint for a sword-type melee weapon.
Complete.
Like, it may be entirely possible, like, through emergent narrative or just player choice, you guys could end up in, like, some weird neo-primitivist feudal colony. But I don't know if that's, like, a thing that I want to pre-plan for in the blueprints, right? Like, there'll probably be a machete-type weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't yet, like, figured out, like, if it's going to have, like, a serial number or what. But there will probably be a big knife.
Big knife.
There's already going to be the EV1 progressive knife. A vibro knife. For when you really need to cut somebody. High-tech shit. And there's obviously the weapon you love to see, the survival knife. Everybody loves them. You always love to find them in your footlocker. We've already covered kind of stats for like some of the different basic weapons. There's a rifle, pistol, SMG, shotgun stuff. I did actually work out a lot of weapon tags, like how spray and full automatic attacks and stuff work, which can be pretty brutal, by the way. If you're point blank with a spray weapon, you do +3 dice of damage.
Oof.
So if you're like a couple meters away and plug a guy with a security shotgun, you're rolling 7d6s. Now keep in mind that's 7d6 flat, so you could whiff completely.
Construction complete.
But if you like walk up to a guy and fill his guts full of buckshot, he's probably not okay.
Most likely not. No.
The downside is that if it's an actual spray weapon, that means that it spreads out as you get farther apart. So you do minimum damage at long range and cannot engage at extreme range. It basically spreads out too far that it doesn't do anything. And there's simple range category stuff. Similarly, there is burst fire and full auto. You can basically do either still the eclipse phase type rules. You can either use the fact that you're shooting a lot of bullets to hit somebody better, or you can use it to try and like hit somebody the same amount, but you're gonna get multiple strikes on target for more damage.
Mhm.
So burst fire uses 3 bullets. You either get +1 dice of damage or +10 to hit. Full auto, it uses 10 bullets. You get +30 to hit or +3d damage. Like, if you can actually hit a motherfucker with most of a full auto burst from an assault rifle, he should probably die.
Probably, yeah.
So the rules are meant to reflect that. The problem is that, hey, if you're, doing an aliens or a predator type thing and you're firing full auto bursts into the jungle, you're going to run out of shots pretty fast. The standard issue assault rifle config is 30 rounds. So you get 3 full auto bursts and then you're done. And then you need to reload. And I hope you printed that extra ammo.
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
So yeah, there'll be some flexibility about that. I also handled in my combat rules, basically, coup de grace helpless stuff, which is, so there's called shot rules. You can call a shot to the head and do double damage. A very simple way to do that. There will probably be a creature trait, which is like, his head's not his head, dude. So you gotta hit somewhere else. So you gotta like figure out where the weak spot is. Is it perhaps this glowing red fuck me light? Probably. But you may have to roll something to figure out that that's where the weak point is that causes the same headshot effect. Because that's a pretty common thing in these types of games or scenarios where you're like, oh, this guy has, these creatures don't have a normal critical hitbox. Wild. And there's probably going to be like an amorphous creature trait for, yeah, this thing doesn't have any called shot zones. It's a blob monster. It's a giant amoeba. You just have to do damage, Chief. You can't shoot at its eyes or its brain or anything. It's just goop. If you want to get crazy. But the way that the coup de grace rules work are pretty simple. So, when you're attacking a target who's helpless, such as they're restrained or unconscious or otherwise unable to defend themselves, you don't roll. You hit automatically. You do maximum damage. You can also make called shots for free. So basically, if you catch Johnny Longbeard, the evil colonist, and you tie him into a chair, and let's just say this hypothetical colonist, Lucky, hypothetically, decides to just deal with him and puts his pistol to his head and pulls the trigger, you will do free called shot to the head for double dice damage, or for double damage overall, I think, and then maximal damage. So that's 2d10 default damage on a pistol. It does maximum 20 damage, double it to 40. That guy's dead. He's probably dead.
Dead.
He just outs. Bah. So this gives you a fairly reliable way of dealing with people in sneak attack situations, including not just hostile colonists, but creatures, hostile aliens and shit. It's something to worry about yourself if you, like, pass out from when you got attacked by that space tiger when you left the space cabin to go space pee. If he knocks you out, well, unless somebody comes along to save you, the game master could decide to punish you for your folly and just say, yeah, the space tiger just eats your throat, dude. You're dead. This is, by the way, in my rules when I talk about the lander. I explicitly mentioned that you should do it in multiples of 4. The lander is configured for 4, 8, or 16. So you can have some extra colonists if you need them.
Construction complete.
Have some red shirts, so you can just have people get got immediately.
Yeah, that's actually probably going to be in my notes when talking about handling NPCs. Having NPCs to act as red shirts is good, especially if you combine that with the other reason why you may have NPCs, which is to cover other specialties player characters don't have. That means that it hurts you all the more when that one person who speaks the alien language gets eaten by a mind flayer.
Anomaly found.
They open the wrong space coffin and a tentacle monster comes out and eats their brain.
Construction
And then they come back
complete.
later as a zombie, and then you have
System
to
survey
roll a
complete.
fear test to suffer your morale, because you
System
liked
survey
the
complete.
cute space scientist, but now she's trying to eat your blood.
No! See, this is why I'm just going to
And
make
you
my
have
own
to roll
here.
another morale test, because you the only weapon you had on hand was the flamethrower.
Oh, God.
This is just how you have a bad time. Let's try not to have a bad time in space, guys. Let's try to have a good time.
Our ships have been improved.
Space good times.
Space times.
Well, so Loth mentioned playing red shirts kind of like only like if you only got like
Mining
all criminals or
station
something
martyred.
who don't have a lot of diverse skills.
Construction complete.
I think actually like my first
The
playtest of
spirits
this
have
game would probably
granted
be
us
streamlined to
wisdom.
something that would take only a
Mining
couple of
station
sessions.
martyred.
And basically, I don't even know if I might do pre-gens, I might not.
Survey
I might
complete.
test the character generation systems. But it would probably be like, hey, you guys have been awoken from cryosleep to respond to an emergency at a pre-existing colony. Right? So like playtesting basic rules interactions would be, hey, this colony, it mostly exists. You might have to scavenge some new supplies, you might have to repair some shit, but you will also have some extant features to deal with, and then, you know, Space Predator tries to eat you or something.
Mining
Space Predator is
station
technically
martyred.
redundant because the Predator is already from space.
Who took out my fucking... Who dis?
Yeah.
Oh, it's pirates.
Yar. Space pirates, yar.
How strong are they? They're weak as fuck.
Yeah, and I think that, like, there's a lot of little things, a lot of little sections I've added, but that's the most of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been, we're about 2 hours and a quarter. We can pivot.
Anomaly
We can pivot.
found.
Well, the question is to
Gaming
pivot to
stuff a lot.
what?
Do you want to talk about 13 Sentinels yet, Lucky?
I can talk a little bit about it. I can get people set up. So, I binged I basically binged through 13 Sentinels. Once I got started, it's very hard to stop. Like, I was a little about it because, as some of you might know, my initial take on it is I was playing it during a stream, and I'm half listening to a mega and half playing a game. Like, for games like this, like Stellaris, I can listen. I can do it no problem. I mean, I don't really contribute much to conversation more than oh, and maybe pop in with like, hey, but what about Monster Girls? But with that game, I had to actually read and start understanding plot because, like I mentioned before, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, has a lot of fucking plot. And it's all non-linear plot. It's so non-linear. Like, I don't want to get into a full detail document because Omega is still waiting on his copy. Some reason.
Shipping. It should be here next week.
Sometime.
God willing.
And I want him to play it. Like, I really want him to play it, and we can talk about it as a whole, because I fucking love this game. I really, really do. The worst thing about this fucking game is that I can only play it once for the first time.
I love when you get that response. I love that. Well, it's a love-hate thing, but that's always so cool when you finish a book for the first time and you're like, shit, I can't read that for the first time again.
Yeah, no, like, I posted, like, literally one of my favorite scenes on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw that you posted it. I don't think I watched the scene because spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
I don't know if it was spoiler-related, but I was
It's kind of spoiler-related. But, like I said, you literally go through the stories of 13 characters, and they all basically have their little plot and subgenre, and everything just weaves together in this grand overarching thing that you think is completely and utter chaos, but comes together at the end so perfect and neat that you're like, how did they manage this? Like, and like at first, like I was gonna say, like I was a little down on the RTS combat sections, like, but like, and I was like, actually no, this is actually well thought out and balanced and fun, especially when, like I said, they're basically story missions in their own right, and little things will happen. In one particular fight, you're talking to an ally, but the ally is slowly moving out of range, and one of your character asks, "Hey, will you sing to us until you can't anymore?" And during the map, she'll just be singing at just to one point. She just fades out, just gone, and you're just like, oh. Like the final, like I don't want to ruin the final fight, but it's like, oh man, it was so intense, and it's like fun. It's like customizing your mechs because, I can talk about the combat a little bit. So basically, the way the combat works is a top-down mission. It's a top-down screen, a little isometric, but you control up to 6 mechs, with the others that are not incapacitated for whatever reason being on defense. And with said 6 mechs, you have 4 types known by their generations who has particular specialties. Gen 1 is a melee focus, Gen 2 is a balance focus, Gen 3 is long range focused, and Gen 4 is aerial focused. Each generation type has particular niches, and each pilot has a particular setup, so no actual mech is quite alike. And you can pick and match. You can level up their weapons. You can level up their mechs themselves. The pilots gain levels and they get unique skills. So there's a lot of versatility and customization to do in combat. The combat, like, I actually kind of appreciate this the more I think about it. There's not like a huge variety of combat types. They just introduce the same types over and over again and just make them a bit stronger. I'm just like, no, that's fair. That means I don't actually have to think super hard on how to beat them. My usual strategies will work. I just have to hit them harder. So yeah, actually, I actually really enjoyed combat. Like I said, I'm not gonna talk about the story at all because I said I want to make it. But I honestly do feel that this kind of game will inspire a mega with Sky of Hope and 4X in particular, because I'm pretty sure you might, like, once you get done with 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, you are going to add it to the list of inspirations to Sky of Hope. Like,
that's entirely possible. Especially because you've said it has a lot of different sci-fi tropes.
Yeah,
that is also a quality that Sky has, where it's really, like, we have both called it a quote-unquote mecha RPG, but it also is very specifically kit-bashed from, like, the things that I like in particular.
Yeah. So, like, because, like I said, the entire, like, to split up the story, this is one of the things that I fucking love, is when you start the combat, you are in the final battle. You are at the end of the story. You basically start the end of the story basically whenever and go through it. And the VN section is the events leading up to that. So for a lot of the character development, it's not actually, getting in the mech and doing a thing. It's figuring out why you need to get in the mech. Which, as I said, for every person is something a little bit different. And like I said, like, oh my god, like I'm tearing up a little bit just thinking about it. One of my favorite things about it is when you finish, like, every little story is divided into little chapters, and every time you get done with it, it says to be continued. Until you get to the last one, which basically, when you get it, you usually see the characters summon their mech, and then it says to the final battle. And I'm just like, oh god, it gets me every time.
Yeah, that sounds like this game is really well made.
It really is.
And I do. Vanilla stuff is usually pretty, like, I've talked about this before. I really love Grimoire. I really love a re-release, guys. Anybody? But like that's got a similar thing where, like, it's a cute, definitely not Harry Potter inspired, fantasy RTS. And then you, like, get into weird shit with, like, I don't even think that's a basic spoiler to say that you have some time loop shenanigans in that as well, because you reset time until you get it right, basically, and has a lot of interesting stuff going on in it, and characters and things that you learn through multiple routes. So yeah, no, there's definitely gonna be interesting to see some stuff. I hope to get it soon and to get in there and see some of the stuff Lucky is talking about.
Yeah.
So we can talk about some of the plots and things fully.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna slap some fucking pirates around. Oh wait, no, we are slapping pirates around. Perfect. But so, yeah, actually, I should probably pick up Grim Grimoire because I have Dragon's Crown. Technically, I have Dragon's Crown Pro. I should probably see about picking up OG Dragon's Crown when I can. And I also got Odin Sphere, and apparently you can still buy Grim Grimoire new. It's on Amazon. I'm like, this is wild.
Wild.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking unopened.
Yeah, and it's only like $30
I mean,
or something.
obviously, I still have my old PS2 copy. Just don't have any hardware to play it on right now.
So I should probably pick that up before it doesn't become available new. So, yeah, no, 13 Sentinels, super great. I love it. I feel like this might be a little bit me, but I kind of feel like 13 Sentinels has slipped from everyone's radar because actually, let me double check this here.
Well, so I'm gonna guess it probably didn't necessarily pop on a lot of people's radar because it's a weird anime giant robot game.
And well, also because Also because it was November 28th, 2019.
Yes, no, it definitely was eclipsed by the cyberpunk kerfuffle that nobody actually cares about because they all shut up.
Yeah, wait, hang on. Wait, no, wait, that was JP. When was, wait, no, it couldn't have been released. Hang on.
No, it was definitely late November.
Yeah, but it says 2019 on here. I thought it was only released last year.
No, it was. It's probably because there's a lot of dialogue that was translated.
Oh yeah, but hang on. Let me. Yeah, it's initial release date. Hang on. Let me pull this up here real quick just to make the fuck sure here. Let me see here. Okay. Worldwide was September 22nd, 2020. That's why. Okay, but still,
Late September.
I feel like there was a lot of games coming.
So actually, yeah, no, I think the thing was that would have been around a little that would be just before next gen launch, which also just ate up the news cycle with how much of a clusterfuck that was, right?
Yeah, and like everyone was constantly talking about Cyberpunk, everyone was constantly talking about PlayStation, and it just kind of scooted under the radar. And I'm a little upset about this because, like, oh yeah, because of September, that means it didn't qualify for any fucking Game Awards. I am now double incensed. Like,
yeah, no, it's kind of hey, you know, maybe, you never know. Maybe we've got almost 3K subs. We can definitely put some signal boosting out there if we talk about it.
Yeah, we'll tell.
Not a lot, but we'll let you know. It sounds really neat.
Oh yeah, it's totally neat.
And like I said, it was nominated for best narrative. Right, that's true actually.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was nominated. And I think did we even? Well, yeah, until The Last of Us Part 2 won everything. Of course it fucking did. But we have already had that discussion for like 2 weeks in a row. We're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
I have no desire to once again be sassy at the Game Awards. I already got it out there. I'm fine. Yeah, no, like I will be interested to see it. Speaking of games that were nominated at the Game Awards, though, once. This will be really interesting for me, though, because I may or may not have to, like, split my time or power through one of these games. But next month on PlayStation Plus...
Oh, yeah, that's
Control
right.
Ultimate for PS4 and PS5.
Yep, all you had to do was wait it out.
Yeah, nope, all I had to do was wait. I mean, like, Control has been sitting in my Amazon wishlist for, like, forever, but it constantly goes out of stock because, hey, it's a really fucking good game that people like. So I've been, like, waiting for the right time to get it because... Interestingly enough, kind of like Cyberpunk, it didn't run so goo on classic PS4s. This is one of those weird things that I still don't get why. Was it because, like, Cyberpunk specifically said they were making sure to keep it as a last-gen game? I don't know. I'm bothered by some slight hypocriticalness in the Cyberpunk coverage now, especially as the coverage dies down, right? Like, yeah, okay. In 1.0 patch, there was apparently a new game-breaking bug if you were in the middle of a quest that could happen sometimes. They have plot fixed it. It took them a little bit, but they did patch it for everybody.
Yay.
We're on 1.1. So, like, you know, there's some... I don't know, but, like, it's the same with The Witcher 2. Right? Like, The Witcher was a thing they made. Also, I mean, okay, so it was made in those years, but it was planned for a long fucking time, though.
Yeah, I know. They released a trailer, like, fucking, like, early 2010s.
5 million years ago. Yeah, I don't know when they actually started in depth, but there's definitely some weirdness where other games, I do not remember there being as much of a hullabaloo. But I absolutely heard from people, hey, Control, it's a phenomenal game. We love it. It's cool. Don't play it on a basic bitch PS4. Whereas what people said about Cyberpunk was, hey, Cyberpunk, they're fucking liars and they trying to steal your money and it's falsely hyped up and it sucks on base PS5.
Makes me think about the converse. Like, slight tangent, Lucky has discovered Trope Talks and he thinks they're great. I might have accidentally listened to Trope Talk for an hour instead of working. Whoops.
It happens. No, I think I've talked about OSP before, and Trope Talks in particular is really great. I've said this before. I don't always agree 100% with, like, Red's subjective takes on stuff, but hey, she's a separate human being from me. So that's pretty usual. Lucky and I don't one-to-one agree on everything.
Check out her talk on Mary Sue. That was enlightening.
Really good dissection of those topics, right?
Yeah. Like I said, like the one I was listening to before we got started here was Mary Sue, and I was like,
complete.
oh.
System survey complete.
Yeah, if you don't actually know the origin of Mary Sue, like I know because I'm a
Anomaly
huge
found.
TV tropes nerd. So yeah, I remember that story, but that actually comes from a very specific case.
Yeah.
And that's one of those ones where some of the stuff I don't necessarily agree with Red on, because I think part of her conclusion is kind of like, I mean, yeah, these are like really basic bitch self-inserts, but isn't that like okay for everybody? And I'm like, yeah, like in the realms of fan fiction, I'm not going to be bad, but if people are concerned that we're getting fan fiction quality writing in a professional writing project, there should be a little bit of agita. I think sometimes there's too much agita, but that's just fandom in general. Fandom is like the culture of getting too much anxiety and excitement about stuff that you should at times. But no, it's a really good dissection of the origin and kind of like where some of these things you have probably seen referenced come from. Like how everybody jokes about, oh, are you a vampire werewolf? Oh, do you have multicolored hair and eyes? Like, there's actual history behind that. And this fucking Deermid will not die. Jesus Christ. Does he like keep popping a defense skill or something?
He's just like, fuck you.
He's NP'd like twice on me, and I'm like, what the fuck? He's probably evading when I'm not paying attention. Enemies with mandatory evade skills suck. Well, they're not mandatory, I guess, but it's a pain in the ass because Musashi only gets one turn of Pierce invul, and I have to find her on support. Anyway, and Musashi got a second NP. Now he's gonna die.
And now
but
you
yeah.
die.
So right, talking about like trope talk and stuff is really good, but yeah, Control is coming up.
Yeah,
And,
like I know people are
excited.
bitching about it, but I'm still gonna try it on my PS4 because I don't have anything else. I've tried. Apparently, PlayStation has actually done something called PlayStation Direct, where basically Panda's caught me onto this. Thanks, Panda, wherever you are. Has caught me onto it. He like sends me links because he said he was gonna help me get a PS5, and he's keeping to his word. Super appreciate the dude. But PlayStation Direct is basically a thing where you click on a link, you get put into a waiting room. At the appointed time, the waiting room opens, and everyone gets put into a random queue. The queue goes on, you buy a PS5, you can only buy one, you have to have a PlayStation account, and you only get 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah, basically it's called Direct, I'm sure, because Sony is building a direct sell you system in order to combat scalping, because they would like to put more PS5s out there because that's gooder for them.
Yeah. So, but I still haven't been able to get one. I got close to getting one. I was like 20 minutes from getting one. That's the closest. And like I said, GameStop has had a couple things. I wasn't able to get it. And so yeah, no, like because again, Control is another game that I wanted to play because I was all like, yes, give me this.
I don't know 100% because this is the Ultimate Edition, but it may also have some optimization. Like, it's not unplayable on basic PS4. It supposedly just has like frame rate issues and maybe some lag. I don't know how this Ultimate version will like play out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Lucky can report back on that, but I am definitely interested in Control.
I will.
By the way, speaking of things that are also on PS5, hey, if you guys haven't watched it, I did the maiden demo for Resident Evil 8.
How was that?
So first of all, I want to preface, I'm sorry that the sound kind of gets bugged in the later half of it. That was either because it had been so long and I'd like downloaded several updates for OBS that I had to like completely reset my capture card interface. So my sound levels were no longer balanced for capturing from the capture card. So I either turned it down too low, or because I put my earbuds in, that meant that my audio was no longer coming through my TV, so it didn't get captured. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not 100%. I'll fix that in future. It was something I couldn't possibly catch, and I said this in the actual recording text. It's literally a 15-minute demo. It's not worth me doing again just to get the audio fixed. The only thing you really can't get is you can't hear what vampire ladies sound like, and you think I sound like a raving lunatic when I talk about how fucking loud everything is. Because unfortunately, Lucky, it seems like Resident Evil 8 is going to be one of those games where every little thing makes a noise. You take a step, scritch, scritch. It's probably because they start you in a damp dungeon, but like every step you take, scritch. Turn your head, scritch, crunch. Crouch, scritch, crunch. Just stand there, creak. So it had a shitload of ambient noise that was super loud in my ears, and yeah. I mean, it's basically like I said. I don't have the same like super crazy over the top fear response. Like, yeah, there's a couple of jump scares, there's a couple of creepy moments. Mostly, what happens is I just like at one point they did the obvious. Oh, something fell from the ceiling. And I was in the middle of saying something, so basically I'm like, yeah, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, thanks for that. All right. No, you're not going to see me. I'm not going to play this game long term.
Nah, that's a lucky thing. You
No,
want to see how lucky...
like, I said this in the demo. I'm like, because here's the thing. I didn't really feel scared by it, and I was actually able to, like, keep my composure. Like, at one point, I was like, can I dodge you, vampire lady? Oh, I can. Haha, fuck you, bye. Like... So, because there's, like, a test enemy who can, like, bite you and stuff, and I was able to juke her and get to the door, and then you get stabbed in the face by giant vampire mommy, right? That's how the demo ends.
I've been retweeting all of that I can find.
Yeah, is it pronounced Lady Dimescu?
It's something like that.
Dimescu?
It's something like that.
Something like that. She's everywhere. People love her. It's gonna be really interesting to see the full game. But, like, I don't know if I'd play it long term because it does seem like, and this is probably true for a lot of Resident Evil games. I'm not, you know, I haven't played a lot of them. But it definitely seems to be more about the, like, tension, which is not... That's why I literally can't complete Alien Isolation, even though I fucking love that game to death. Just because, like, when you get to that heart rate tension of just, like, all I can hear in my ears is just my constant scraping and heavy breathing, and I'm like, is a guy gonna jump out and get me? Like, am I gonna have to, like, run or fight? That, like, just... Several times in the demo, I have to literally be like, sorry, I stopped talking there for a second, guys. I had to take a couple deep breaths, you know, and just kind of let it out. So I don't think I want to play it full bore. I'll watch other people play it. I'll ride, you know, shotgun with Lucky if he wants to play it. But like, I don't think it's a game that I'm gonna play fully on my own, unless I like watch somebody play it and I really like it.
Like, ideally, right now, what I would like to do is if I can get like, ooh, wait, I have to name my amoeba. I'm gonna name her Nyx. Like, I want to get a PS5 because I would love to get a PS5 put on remote share with Omega so he can literally watch me and just go. Because we've tested this. Like, well, not...
We play, if you don't know, we have an archived stream of us playing the entirety of Untitled Goose Game that way. Yeah, that was over Steam co-op share.
Yeah. So as long as the function that lets Omega see what I'm seeing, because that's the big caveat. I need Omega to be in sync with my gameplay. So when I react, he knows what I'm reacting to and can react accordingly. Or he can react to something he sees, and I can react to that.
Yeah.
That's something we haven't tested, but I also want to get... Specifically, I want to get a PS5 so things don't necessarily chug. Like I said...
because we want to make sure everything runs perfectly. And like I said, the PS5 is definitely very decent. I don't have a lot of lag issues. Everything flows pretty good. The graphics are pretty clean. It's got a nice package so far. It's quiet.
So that's the thing, because I have a PS4. It's literally a Gen 1 PS4. I am not upgraded to a Pro or anything.
Yeah.
So...
And at this point, why would you?
Yeah.
And I am hopeful that Lucky will be able to figure out... there will be enough PS5 inventory he can get one by... When's this game coming out? May?
May, yeah.
Yeah,
well, and I would like to probably actually maybe get it sooner because, again, I would like to play Resident Evil...
right.
7.
Because that's in the PS... What do they call it? PlayStation... Is it just PlayStation Plus Collection?
Something like that. And get that, so I know what's the maybe the fuck is going on.
Right, and definitely from what I've seen of people playing 7, 8 is the same engine basically. Like, there was no combat in the demo because it's like I said, it's literally like 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. They'll probably improve it or release new demos later where maybe you get to shoot some stuff. But yeah, for now it's basic, like moving around, moving your head, get some spooky backstory lore.
Oh, you motherfuckers got a wormhole. You fuckers. I see you expanding over there.
System survey complete.
But yeah, so like I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the engine is the same. So it flows better. It's first person, so it would be good to play the OG version and like get a feel for it before you play the new game. I do think because they may like up some of their complexity. Like it's all set in the creepy castle. You start in the cellar and you start in the dungeon and then you leave. You got to do some gross stuff, like dig a key out of a bucket full of blood.
System survey complete.
There was a scare I missed entirely where there's a dead lady, and then when I turned away and turned back, she fell over, and there were bolt cutters in her back.
Oof.
And then I tell the audience, hey, by the way, I'm only gonna bolt cut the one thing I need to do. I'm not gonna stick around here because I'm tired of this fucking dungeon.
Oh, so you picked up the bolt cutter so you can open a thing.
Yeah, you need the bolt cutter so you can cut some chains so you can open doors and get stuff. And there were a couple different cells you could cut open. I was just like, I'm just going to cut open the one I know that will have the key in it and move on, because fuck this place. Bye. Bye, bitch.
Whoop, whoop.
And it's like, if you haven't seen it yet, audience, you should check it out. I do a freaking amount of talking to the audience and yelling to make up for the fact that there's no ambient noise. And it is... You absolutely get to hear, like I said, you know, do some of that cussing out of stuff, because I'm just like I said, my response to fear is usually just quiet resignation, just like, yeah, they're gonna get me. Or it's just like, if they do like a jump scare, it's usually just like, hey, whoa, that happened, thanks.
No, I can't remember, but I think I'm usually more animated. Like, I will actually start yelling at them, if I remember correctly. I can't remember.
I mean, yeah, from watching you play Dead Space, you are definitely like, oh, like, sometimes you get combative, but you're usually like, fuck you, no, go away. And then when you start stepping on them, you're like, fuck you, die, bitch. Though Dead Space is obviously slightly more action-oriented than some Resident Evil games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like, from my experience with you playing these kinds of games, it's usually like, you're not necessarily scared, though you definitely do have I don't know if better is the right word, but you definitely have a more active, yell or scream reflex.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard Lucky yelp. I don't usually do that. Like I said, usually I'm in the middle of my thought, and I'm just like, whoa!
Anomaly found.
You know? Or like I said, if I'm not talking and I just see something, I'm just kind of like, you know, quiet, stunned, and they're just like, okay, all right. Like, at one point, you're going up the stairs, and you see a hand sticking out of a wine barrel.
Complete.
Right? Creepy enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the hand fucking flexes and closes, like, to make kind of a point, and I'm just like, okay, all right, okay, great. I love it. I love it a lot. And just move on, because in that moment, I was just kind of like, okay, all right. You know, I'm like, unnerved. I don't like this, but I don't feel like yelling about it, but... I don't want to say one for one Lucky would yelp if he saw that, but I could absolutely see Lucky catching that out of the corner of his eye and just going, what was that? What did you do? And I would probably be sitting back and be like, hey, Lucky, did you see that hand? Did you see the hand do the thing?
Evading heretics.
And then, like I said, when there are jump scares, we would probably just go, ah. I mean, what? Literally with jump scares, that's a reflexive reaction. It's very hard not to have some reaction when something just flies into your field of vision, right?
Nooms.
Like I said, they literally do the old something drops down from the ceiling you weren't looking at trick. And I was just kind of like, nah, nope, that happened. Thanks, guys. You're great. I love you. But yeah, so it's a pretty quick to play demo. If you've got a PS5, go ahead and download it if you're interested in the game. It literally takes you 5 minutes. It's got some like small things I don't like for purposes of a demo. Like once you're in the demo, you have no pause menu whatsoever.
Oh geez, really?
Like you can press triangle to examine items in your inventory, but there's no like main menu type thing. You can't. Like I think the only way to quit is to close the fucking app. You can't adjust the sounds or settings at all from inside the demo that I found. Like I pressed all the buttons, which I felt a little annoying because like, hey, what happens if I didn't perfect my audio balance? Am I supposed to close the whole fucking game? Whole demo? I guess, but like there are just some small like quality of life stuff, not a big deal. And like I said, I don't think that it's a game that I would play fully on my own, but like I said, I'm absolutely okay to sit shotgun with Lucky and do some stuff.
Cool.
That could be fun. And who knows, I may actually also like try out RE7 myself just to refamiliarize myself with the game. I don't know if I'd play it fully on my own time either. You know, because like if I want to play a creepy vampire castle game, guys, I'll play Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's the kind of creepy vampire game I want to play.
Alex, you like to play Castlevania?
that's definitely one of our things on our big list if we can get this kind of like sharing setup up. Is we want to. Well, I specifically want to do like.
Oops.
Full boy. I've mentioned Halo.
Yep.
Do a full boy Halo retrospective. I do want to do Metal Gear because we both really like those games and we've been heavily influenced by them.
Yes,
If
we
we can dig up
The
some
spirits are
emulators,
granted as
for
near
the
as
actual
them.
OG
System
Metal Gear
survey complete.
and Metal Gear 2, like that might be cool. I've never played those.
I know actually I don't know if these codes work, but for the PS4 there is a Legacy a Legacy edition that comes with codes to let you play Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2.
System survey complete.
I had them on my old.
Do I have the PS4 version of that? I think I do.
Actually, let me double check this
Double
thing.
check.
Okay, hang on. I gotta go grab it from my fucking wall
I may
here.
have the PS3 version of Metal Gear HD.
Yeah, here it is.
Metal Gear is one of those games that's been released a lot of times, guys.
Oh. Yeah, but let's see here. Comes with a sweet art book, some codes.
Anomaly found.
Yeah, I probably used this code, so I probably can't use it again. Unless...
System
No,
survey
I probably can't
complete.
use it again. Fuck.
Nah, probably not.
Holy shit, why
No,
do I'm missing it. Why am I missing a disc?
System survey
Is it in
complete.
something?
I wonder if it was in my... Did it... What happened to the other disc?
Oh, that could be funny. Lots talking about how he might want to join in if we got to one of the games of Halo that allow 4-player co-op. That could be funny. We might also just buddy cop.
I might have to buy this again. Well, that honestly probably wouldn't bug me that much, but...
System
I
survey
But yeah, like
complete.
full boy Metal Gear retrospective. At the very least, all of Solid, right?
Oh yeah. Actually, fun fact, I actually got the Nintendo version of Metal Gear. I actually got the physical copy now.
Neat.
It is
And I actually have a PS1 copy of the OG Metal Gear Solid.
yeah, same.
System survey complete.
Actually, now that I
Fun
think
game.
about it, I got Metal Gear Solid 2, 3. Let's see here. Do
I think I only own 2 as one, the demo disc that came with the OG Zone of the Enders.
Yeah.
Okay, why everybody bought that game. And I think I only have it in the HD collection. I don't think I ever owned it on PS2, sadly. I do own 3 on the PS2, and I own 3 several times.
That's right. I also
Got 4, obviously,
Yeah, my copy of 4
and 5.
vanished.
Though, actually, that's a good question. Lucky, did either of us ever finish 5? Because I didn't. Did you finish 5?
No, I never actually beat it.
5's got a lot of make work. It's a cool game. I love it, but also it's got points where you're just kind of like,
Okay,
I guess
so
I'm just Solid Snake Punish Venom Snake doing stuff.
yeah, I never beat it because again, at some point you're just like, all right, I want you to do these exact same missions but harder. And I'm like, but I already did these missions.
Yeah. So yeah, but we could at least power through the plot. Maybe do some stuff off camera.
Mm-mm.
Do some things. No, we wouldn't play Metal Gear Survive. Why would you ask that? Why would you say that to me? I'd rather play like those weird ones, like the Game Boy Ghost Babble or Acid.
I'll play Acid. I beat Acid 1 and 2. I love those
I never
games.
played Acid, but it seems cool.
No, it's fun. Don't let people tell you otherwise. It's weird and quirky, and the story makes no sense, but the mechanics are solid.
Oh yeah, you have to play Peace Walker.
Oh yeah.
That's very important. As a man who has played Peace Walker, because it is in that one HD collection. Peace Walker is pretty cool too, guys. It's a little weird when you think about the fact that I'm pretty sure it's set in the late 70s, and like there's some more prototype Metal Gear giant robots running around. But it's no worse than like seeing Sahelanthropus in 5 and then looking at what Metal Gear looked like in the OG Metal Gear. Right? There's probably a good excuse for why Sahelanthropus is fucking huge and weird, and then Metal Gear like Type 82 or whatever is teeny tiny. Budget cuts.
Well, it's because it was made by
then-
fucking Hal. That
Anomaly
fuckboy.
found.
And then
Construction complete.
well, yeah, I would expect that the Sahelanthropus was very ineffective because it looks like more of a concept model than a real thing. Like Rex at least is obviously
I'm here to shoot nukes and roar at things.
Construction
Yeah.
complete.
And it's got like all those extra support systems, the Vulcan cannons, the rocket
spirits
pods,
have
the free
granted
electron
us
laser.
new wisdom.
I love Rex.
System
Rex is a solid
survey
design.
complete.
Coolest thing they did in 4 probably
Yeah.
was play a little Rex sequence.
Kaiju fight.
Including, yes, you got to fight fucking Ray and win, which is not how that's supposed to work. 'Cause in case you guys forgot, Metal Gear Ray is supposed to be a counter to Rex knockoffs.
Well,
Because that occurred off camera between 1 and 2, was that Metal Gear Rex's blueprints flooded the market and countries were supposed to be building knockoffs.
well, clearly the OG Rex is the superior Rex. Even though you literally busted it, left it in a fucking warehouse for like
I mean,
10
yeah, that's
years.
to be fair. You know, shout out to our boy, Otacon, for building a machine that survived getting its radome blown up, getting the shit kicked out of it by a guy on foot, fighting a cyborg ninja, and then
Construction complete.
fucking, like, 10 years later, I think,
Yeah.
you go back to where it is, boot it the fuck up, and it runs. And admittedly, I believe it's mentioned that in order to make it run,
Construction
Metal Gear Mark
complete.
III has to do a lot of, like, off-site computer shit. But
Yeah.
still, like, it fucking walks and roars still. Built to last,
Special
my dude.
project complete.
Oh man, that is like, to wax a little bit on Metal Gear Solid 4. Going back to Shadow Moses was a fucking trip.
Yeah, no, that's one of those really great return to an old area thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's got all those memory moments, like you see the first fucking security cam again, and then it falls apart,
Mm-hmm.
literally in front of you.
Wasn't the Mark 23 in the same exact spot?
Yeah, if you crawl under that truck, you will find the Mark 23 again, which I believe is the first place you can get it, which
Yeah.
is good because it's a fucking rad gun.
Oh, I love the Mark 23. The SOCOM. Oh god.
Yeah, nice and boxy, higher mag cap, built-in laser and flashlight, suppressor acceptable. Gun customization in 4 was my shit, guys.
It was.
Drippin'. Yeah, no, there's a lot of those little moments. There's a lot of things, like, I believe there's a lot of stuff like rations and other things that are in the same place too.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty rad. But yeah, no, like a full Metal Gear retrospective I'd like to do, and I've talked about this before, especially because of Lucky's prior experience. I definitely want to see probably a Lucky focused run, but I want to do all Kingdom Hearts. Like, story so far, at least do story so far, because I know that skips some of the more make-work games, and like actually like go back, do the experience, do the stuff, and lead into like a 3 playthrough. Because I know you talked about how you kind of felt like you missed some stuff, because that is an unfortunate thing where 3 really is no longer just 3. It's like, on the one hand, I appreciate that Nomura
System survey
tried and
complete.
mostly found a way to like bridge all those separate plots
Anomaly
together.
found.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, Nomura, man,
System
fucking
survey
stop.
complete.
Stop making plot lines. Stop it. Hopefully we've reached a point where with the way 3 ends, that some of those plot lines do actually stop and are finished. But holy shit, dude, you need to stop. There's too many plot threads. I appreciate picking them all up and tying them all together, but like, I understand why people like Lucky have had this response where they feel like 3 wasn't as satisfying as it could be, because, hey, you don't remember some of this
The
stuff or
spirits
never
have
played it.
granted us new wisdom.
Like, there's characters and plot points and shit that happen in Dream Drop. How would you know Dream Drop was important? Also, because I gotta be real, Dream Drop's not in my top 3.
Construction complete.
Well, yeah, there's open-ended stuff too, but like, the
System
fact that there are
survey
still too many
complete.
plot arcs is the thing.
Construction complete.
That said, you know, Melodies of Memory, still a great game.
Construction complete.
Love a little rhythm game. Love Kingdom Hearts music. Anyway, yeah, so those are like some of the big game retrospectives. Oh, I should mention, Lucky's talked about this before. He wants me to play all of Uncharted. That'll be another thing if we can get that, because I believe that if it's not in the PS Plus collection, I also just have the Nathan Drake collection. Like, that was a free PS Plus month.
Yep.
So I've got that in my library. So I can just download that. So if we can do the PS5 thing, I can do the other end of that and sync up with him, and we can run it that way. We'll probably have to wait until we can stream again before we can do this, though, guys. I've talked about this. While I'm planning on eventually getting some upgrades, my computer is much better about streaming long-form content than that. Plus, you know, that means we can get you guys in on it live. You can react live to some of this stuff. Throw us your super chattos, yell at us. Yell and scream with Lucky in Resident Evil as we get spookumed.
Spookum.
You know, cheer with your favorite moments in games like Metal Gear Solid, cry in Kingdom Hearts. There will be much crying. All the works. It's great. It's great stuff. Okay, let's see. Mission clock, almost 3 hours. Good episode. Let's see. Shit. I've been really deep in my writing hole and my Stellaris hole, so I haven't done a lot else this week. You got anything else to talk about, Lucky?
Well, I guess I can talk about here. Today I did finish my fucking Wanted script. I passed it to editor Omega, who gave it a quick pass over. Lucky realizes he's not bad at writing, but man, does he suck at grammar and spelling sometimes.
That's okay. God, like I mentioned this in my notes. Like I gave you a couple notes on like some tense shifts and stuff. I do it all the time too. That's why proofreading is important.
Yeah, I know.
God forbid, guys, you ever stop in the middle of a sentence and pick it up again. You'll probably shift tenses, and if you read it out loud back to yourself, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, no, that's
like,
why.
Honestly, most of the like notes I gave Lucky were stuff that aren't vital. Like he had a couple misspellings, he had some grammar shifts. He could probably power through them or remember what he's supposed to do. But if you're reading a script, you might trip up.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you've misspelled this. There was at least one time where I was like, okay, Lucky, you forgot to finish your sentence here.
Yeah.
Can you complete that thought, please?
Yep. And this is why having people to edit your stuff for you is good.
Editors are important.
I read it over myself.
This is why I, have talked about getting other people to read Forex, for instance. Because sometimes Google doesn't catch everything. But yeah, so you finish your Wanted script.
Yep. So I'll probably be recording that tomorrow. Unfortunately, like I said, I had plans of doing a video for it, but like I said, I am literally probably a couple days out, so I will record it tomorrow. My plan is, you see, I'm not going to do it in one breath, one take. I'm going to record it in parts. Like, this is why I have it broken up. So I will record it in parts, listen to it, be like, all right, that's the tone I want to deliver it to, and move on to the next piece. Listen, it's 7.5 pages of writing. It's not necessarily small.
That's like not like super small rating. That's what 12-point Arial font. So
yeah,
but still 7 pages.
Yeah,
properly line breaked.
And so yeah, it'll probably take me a good chunk of Sunday, maybe a little bit of Monday to get all up and uploaded. Well, not uploaded. I'll send it to Omega somehow. Yeah, it shouldn't be that big in the size. I should be able to just be...
Yeah, you can probably just shoot me the files on Discord. As people have done. Or email them to me, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's single-spaced.
Yeah, single-spaced.
I don't double-space. Well, I do double-space when I'm trying to futz a fucking paper, but I wasn't trying to futz a paper.
Yeah, the only time I've ever double-spaced anything is college. And I'm pretty sure that's just so the professor can scribble with red ink, but it's... at the very least, when they ask you for page requirements, it's a lot easier when you're double spacing. By the way, double spacing is one of those things that really fucked my shit up in college because nobody ever explained to me what double spacing was. They just said, and type this out double spaced. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I guess that would be really weird now that I think about it.
Like, because it's not natural, and it. Actually, yeah, you know what? I had to take like all the early bitch English comp things. I don't ever think that. Do they expect you to pick that up in high school? I'll admit that like composition and essay writing was something we skimmed over because I was
no. I think double spacing came in around middle school. I want to say because that's when we actually start. You actually start like developing writing skills and whatnot.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna be an hour long.
No. It's gonna be like
having just proofread this, now it flows pretty well, and that's honestly what most of my editing notes were about. Was like, hey, Lucky, I think you could say this shorter and simpler or cleaner. But I also have some notes which are like, hey, if this is working for you, I don't care. This is just what I thought.
Yeah, no, Lucky goes into stupid detail on some things, and I'm doing that deliberately because I'm like, yes. No, well, yes. Also, forever Utada Hikaru, Simple and Clean. Music of your youth.
Talking about Kingdom Hearts music.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, like, it's he has already pre-written it with flow.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not the greatest writer, but I'm not incompetent at it. Especially when I have someone to read it over. Like as I said yesterday, this was literally why I was reading it at 1.5 speed to myself. I was like, does this sound okay?
And I actually did what Lucky said at points and read it out loud to myself to double check.
Mhm.
That's actually how I found a couple of points where I'm like, nah, this. Even if like, and obviously because you have to read the script, if you prefer it that way, that's I've left that in some of my notes. That's fine. Like I'm not trying to like enforce a standards code on Lucky, but I definitely like read some parts out loud and I'm like, no, I do think that probably flows slightly better with a different tense or like a participle in there or whatever.
Yeah, because I think I mentioned this before. Lucky's delivery of this script is probably going to be heavily influenced by Red of Overly Sarcastic Production. Because while I am not going to probably be as comedic or... what's the word I want to use? Punchline heavy?
Well, yeah, because as OSP is literally Overly Sarcastic Productions, Red got her start making very tongue-in-cheek and sassy reviews of like Shakespeare stuff. I think it started as like a thing for like she was basically doing her own Cliff's Notes version of like Shakespeare plays and stuff. But yeah, no, like that is literally their brand, is being exceptionally sassy.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Listening to Trope Talks, I eternally die every time they do a smash cut to kaiju fights with the common sense, and every time.
That's a great aesthetic.
I die every time, but
OSP and Red have been on YouTube for a while. She knows how this works.
But what was that? But yeah. So my delivery has been influenced by that. But yeah, we will see. It will be up on time, hopefully. And I look forward. I decided to do what I did with my Tamamo video. Because last time, basically what Lucky did is he basically had the wiki copy pasted and edited it for that, and so that was a lot more short form. As I said, this script has been written completely from scratch. I pulled up several references, a lot of pictures, and had to pull up. Oh man, fucking Heian politics are wild.
Well, and also even that, like you, and again, this was some of my notes where like, I wouldn't even necessarily have included this detail, but if you want to, that's fine for your style. But like you, even with not the actual history stuff, but even for some of the servant details, you like really got into looking up certain like numbers of QP spent for certain things and stuff.
Oh yeah, well I figured like some people might like, for like nothing against Omega, but like sometimes I'm like I don't want to fucking do math. Just give me a fucking number that I need to know. And so I'm basically just trying to fit that. And it's not going to take up more. This is probably going to take a couple takes because I'm going to have to rattle off numbers into hundreds of millions. It's kind of wild. But yeah, like I said, I'm very excited about this. This has been my first one since the Tamamo one, and I said I think I put a lot more effort into this one verbally and script-wise, so I'm hoping it does well. Like, by this time next week, it will be out, and we'll have some initial numbers, so I want to get that, get that thought out. That thought out.
It's interesting. She has a right to design, and I think she's pretty popular. She did get a summer alt, right? Like,
yeah.
So I feel like there may be some stuff there. She has a Valentine's as well. It's interesting. We've had some ups and downs with Wanted, in terms of like video views. So let me look at some recent terms. Some of this was actually a point in discussing like the metagame with stuff and people. Not to get into like deep FGO stuff on not Let's Talk FGO. Out already today. Listen to it.
It's good. There's a dog in it.
But yeah, like Li Shuen, for instance, didn't really go anywhere. Like that's about 670 views, not a lot of comments. Benny M is like lower than some, but that could just be like differences in algorithm stuff. But it, it's got almost 1,000. That's pretty average for us at this point. Did get a very decent amount of comments and like likes and engagement and stuff.
Construction complete.
Yeah, I didn't go for the full.
Radamonte did okay. Chi Wong did pretty decent. Like he's trending on the upper half. Lots of comments, lots of engagement, right? Even if our views is a little smaller because maybe people aren't super searching. I don't know. Jiang Yu is lower end of stuff. Not a lot of comments, not a lot of extra engagement. Doing better than Li Shuen at the moment, but not super big. Also, he's got a couple months on him, so that could just be that rest of that. Let's see, and then there was. Oh gosh, was there that long of a gap between Wanteds? Yeah, that's a couple months. Yeah, since Seats and I. Yeah. Seats and I also somewhat lower, but got a lot of fucking Seats and I comments. Jesus Christ. If only more of you had watched the video in addition to commenting. And then some big gaps. Yeah, so like I am pretty sure it will do like above average. I don't know if it'll blow out or not. It might though. If it's longer and if it's got that like extra lucky action in it. If we can communicate that somehow. We've been hyping it up at least.
Yeah, I'm just going over Omega. Like, I'm checking, like, I'm basically just like, yes, change this thing. But the, Omega has notes of like, maybe you should mention this or that or this thing or thing here. I'm like, yes, I should probably actually do this.
Yeah, there were some which were just like suggestions, like where I caught an obvious typo or easily changed a word. I just did the suggesting mode. But there's other points where I like highlighted a bit and I'm like, did you mean this bit here? Or you could say this way. A key part to editing is not to like dictate the correct way to do it, but rather to be like, hey, did you mean to say this here? Or you could probably say this these other two ways. Which one do you like? God, it's so crazy. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back through our old videos looking at Wanteds, and it's like, it's crazy to me to like scroll down and see like Sigurd, 1K views, very good amount of likes, decent amount of comments. Scroll up slightly. Scotty, 5,473 views. 209 likes. 2 dislikes. Like, Christ. I mean, I obviously I know where my bread is buttered in terms of views, but like, holy shit, guys.
The conspiracy is only stronger.
That's such a like wild blowout. Hell, like Qin Wong is considered a meta unit in some context, and he didn't like he did pretty good. He did better than Sigurd, for instance, in that combo, but like he was not as huge as that. Wild. Views are wild sometimes.
Axe, no, very like not with Omega. Omega doesn't actually pull that often. I'll tell you right now, though, if you ever play a game with Lucky, there will definitely be runaway to live moments. I think those are very iconic of the dramatic set pieces. Cause
yeah, I think mostly with my experience with players, and Lucky hasn't played any of the times I've run like Call of Cthulhu before or anything. I've done that mostly with some of my older group. Generally with a lot of genre stuff, with the players I've had and the games I've run, I have not ended up with a lot of those "you will die if you don't run" situations.
Yeah, well,
players are smart enough not to. Like, by volume, Star Wars is probably one of the things I've run the most in my life. Most times, you guys are not dumbos and are just like, oh, there's going to be like a shitload of dudes we can't possibly survive in that room over there. Let's just not go in that room. Let's do something else.
Yeah. But, like, I'm also always a little leery about doing something like that because I feel like sometimes players will definitely be all like, it's clearly an enemy, so clearly there should be a way to beat it. Let's just keep hitting it until...
the old adage.
Until we figure something out. So a lot of times when I want to design a runaway to live cans, I actually make it an environmental effect of something that you can't just straight up punch or something that you straight up can't understand.
Yeah, like honestly, if you talking about my GM style, that's probably the type of thing you're gonna see more in like For Explore. Like, hey guys, you can't punch a volcanic eruption. You should probably think your way out of this problem. You know. But no, Axe is referring to a situation that happened in our D&D game that he really wants me to talk about. He's alluding to it. But I can mention it. Our D&D is back on. We are down to, unfortunately, 4 players. And I've talked about this before with, like, roles. It's pretty interesting because Axe as a person is not a very forceful speaker. He's usually pretty insightful, and, like, he tries to be on point and do his stuff. Sometimes Axe, if you will accept a fair amount of bit of criticism, I do think you overthink a little, but you know this also. I think too, but like, there's definitely some times where it's like, okay, it's my turn. I could do this or I could do that, and I'm just like, no, Axe, just do your thing. Make him get spooked and like give us bardic inspiration. You're the bard. Go, let's go.
Zoom.
Hey, I know lots of people who have decision problems. I've played D&D with a small handful of groups, not for like an extended period, but I've played a little bit of the field. So some people do have that analysis paralysis. I generally try not to be mean when I'm just like, hey, yo, it's you. You gotta go. You gotta do the thing.
Ships have been improved.
But it's interesting because now Axe is probably our most passive player, and it's if anybody's listened to the Fate AP, Vesper is the DM. It's me.
Our ships have been improved. Construction complete.
She said it again. Loth, are you going to type it in all caps again? Sorry, Loth yells our ships have been improved every time Stellaris goes out there. But it's me as the Paladin. Mentioned it before.
Our ships
We've
have
got
been
Dallas,
improved.
one of our moderators. He was in the Fate
Our
AP. He also
ships
helped me out
have
with the
been
Chin Shi Wang
improved.
that I mentioned.
Construction
He is
complete.
a barbarian
Our ships
slash
have been
cleric of
improved.
Corlin Lethlin, so he's also a wizard
Our
cleric.
ships have been
Wizard. Great.
improved.
Because he's an arcane cleric. That's pretty funny. And then we've got Robin, also from the Fate AP, is our sorcerer rogue catfolk,
The spirits have
who is a
granted us
divine
new wisdom.
divine soul sorcerer, so kind of a cleric sorcerer. So we're wild. We're all about being divine casters, but not. It's weird. We're weird.
Nerds.
System survey complete.
But those three people I mentioned, that's including myself,
The
do definitely
spirits
have some force of
granted us new
personality.
wisdom.
Yeah, Axe is also arguably
System
playing a very
survey
subtle bard. He's
complete.
College of Whispers. So that's kind of like a sneaky pants guy. So we get to kind of these interesting situations where when you're dealing with barbarians and paladins and catfolk, sometimes you get that kind of fuck sneaking. You know, I'm just like, hey, what if I just got out there and did some smites, guys? I'm a paladin.
The spirits
I'm
have
a big girl.
granted
I can
us
do it.
new wisdom.
So our group dynamic is now interesting because the player who had to leave because of school stuff, like he doesn't have the time to play right now. He's on a very heavy school workload. Shout out to him.
Survey complete.
But he was our brain character. Like he had a high int score. He was the artificer, so he had a lot of these skills. He had a guard doggo who
The
was great.
spirits have granted us new wisdom.
And now that we're without him, we are definitely literally dumber. Like I don't think anybody has super great brain skill now. And I think the reason why Axe asked about the runaway to live thing was because we encountered kind of an interesting situation. We're going to a place. We're playing in Wildmount, you know, in Exandria. So we're going to a place, Shady Creek Run, if you know it. We got stuff to do there. We got plot stuff. We've been traveling for about 5 million years. No, but it's been several weeks of going like lengthwise up a continent to go to a place to continue the plot. And occasionally the plot may find us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how all Vesper's writing and meta plots hook up yet. But we're going to a place. We've been traveling a lot. We go through another travel next time. We have kind of our break with our character whose player had to leave temporarily. So, you know, we explained all that. We moved on. We got about stuff. We faff a lot. We're... again, if you've listened to the Fate AP, it's mostly the Fate crew who's in this now. Like, I think everybody now who is left in there were all players in Fate. So, yeah, no. Warning to anybody who ever has the game master for me. If I'm not the game master and it's not my job to keep the story moving, I am extra prone to tangents. Because sometimes I'll just be sitting back thinking about stuff. As opposed to what I usually do when GMing, which is thinking about the next scene or the next moment. I only ever really get, like, quote-unquote break time when players actually, like, take a big moment to roleplay a lot amongst themselves. Which is cool. I love it when you guys monologue. Or dialogue.
I should monologue more.
But, yeah, so, we're, you know, going about our business, and then we have a weird moment where we see something, you know, in the distance. It's very spooky. We're all very unnerved by it, but also we're kind of like... It's the middle of the night. We're trying to do a long rest. We're getting a little at each other for, like, hey, did we have to, like, do this and that and the other thing? You know, some people saw it, some people didn't. Kind of do our back and forth. And then the next day, we kind of encounter these blighted crops. And, well, that was the day I learned that the Bone Devil in my intelligent weapon... Yeah, I'm a paladin with a Bone Devil Tiamat sword. It's very hilarious. I think I've talked about it before.
Complete.
It lets me breathe fire and lightning and acid and stuff. It's a rad sword. But it has a Bone Devil in it. I call him Boney M, referencing the band who did the Rasputin song and others. But apparently he's got a huge brain in that sword. Because I asked him, like, hey, this is some weird shit going on here. And I think Dallas has a religion score. Yes, I'm a paladin who's not trained in religion. I'm definitely a militant knight. I kick ass for the Lord. That's what I do.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Anomaly found.
But, like, I think he pegged that it was probably, like, a fiend type thing, right? Like, it was evil. And so I ask my sword, "Hey, buddy, you know about this kind of thing?" And he comes back, "Oh yeah, bro, it's a Nuclavy thing." And I'm like, "Ah, fuck me, god damn it." If you don't know about Nuclavy, that's a Orkney Island specific myth of a creepy giant skeleton horseman. Yes, he is both a skeleton horse and a skeleton man. He's like a skeleton centaur, but he still has the horse bit. It's creepy. It's horrifying. But basically, the Nuclavy, possibly Nuclavi or Nuclavy, it's Orknish. Anyway, he comes out of the ocean to like blight your crops and bring disease and shit. He's real bad news bears. And we figured out that in D&D terms, he's probably outside our power scale. So this gave us a big Concernicus, where we're like, ah shit, we're approaching a town, a very cool town called Hupperduke, if you've heard of it. It's a gnome and halfling town where it's a party city. This is where my joke that I may have tweeted earlier this week about gnomish meth came from.
System survey
But
complete.
that gave us a little Concernicus, so we had some cool kind of moments of like slowly dealing with this. Are we outrunning it? Are we not dealing with it? Is this the source perhaps of some freaky fish guys who tried to murder us in the night? One of them was a warlock Shuken. By the way, I have a shiny new trident. I think he was a baron, a Sahagan baron, tried to throw a fucking trident at me, and I dodged it like a boss. And then I took his trident and I kick his ass with it.
As one does.
And then I got it turned into a regular trident because it was oversized for me. But I now have a trident, and I'm like, this is mine now. Dibs. You threw this at me?
Clearly, you don't want it anymore.
Yeah, basically, I was like, all right, I am... that was an interesting fight. That was a couple of weeks ago, but that involved, like I said, one of them was a warlock. So, like, one of them hit me in the face with an Eldritch Blast. It tried to drop Hunger of Hadar, which is a big, like, AoE Zone of Darkness thing on a lot of our dudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of annoying things. Like I said, there was a Baron who was a big boy. He's a
System
large
survey
creature. He
complete.
threw a fucking trident at me. Another one of them pushed me into a river, right? They tried to fuckbox me.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in a zone where I can't get out. So in character, my character, Valanth Gem Blossom, was a little done, and I'm like, this is mine now. I'm keeping this. I'm gonna hit people with it.
Bonk.
The spirits have
I'm
granted
gonna throw it
us
at people if I have to,
wisdom.
because it's tridents. You can actually, they're versatile, so you can two-hand them if you need to. You can throw them at shit. They're fun. They're cool.
Mhm.
They're just better little spears. So they like swam
The
up from like
spirits have
downriver or
granted us
something.
new
So
wisdom.
I'm because the Nuclavy is also from the ocean. I'm kind of wondering if there's a connected plot here. But we were real Concernicus for a while, and it was kind of interesting because
Whoops.
there was a lot of talk of like, yeah, no, we can't really fight this guy if we see him.
Anomaly found.
We gotta like lay low and like move around it, which would be kind of interesting. Though I
Construction
definitely said in the
complete.
context of me, I'm a glory paladin. Like, I don't have to like 1v1 solo this thing. I'm not lawful stupid,
Mhm.
though I am lawful and I am kind of dumb. I'm not literally lawful stupid. But there may be contextual clues where I kind of may have to feel compelled to go fight a guy. That's okay. I'm a paladin. I know when I get to the afterlife,
Construction
my guy will be
complete.
cool. But that led to a very interesting, slightly tense session that still had some fun stuff in it, though.
Ships have been improved. Our
Some of
ships
our,
have been
people were
improved.
very exhausted.
Our
I got to
ships have
cast
been
enhance
improved.
ability. I put
Our ships have been improved.
Bear's endurance
Our ships
on
have been improved. Our
Robin's
ships have
catfolk
been
sorcerer who
improved.
was driving our cart. She was gonna like pass out an hour before town, and I'm
Our
just like,
ships have
hey,
been
here you go.
improved.
extra
Our
con.
ships have been improved. Our ships.
I
have
got
been
to
improved.
use lay on hands
Our
to cure
ships have
a
been improved.
dwarven
ships
elevator
have been
operator because
improved.
this is like a
Our
like it's a little
ships
bit like
have
an
been
industrial
improved.
city in D&D terms. So there's like
Our
simple
ships have
elevators
been
and shit.
improved.
I'm doing this to
Gnomes,
focus lock,
man,
by the
fucking
way.
gnomes. But the elevator operator was fucking drunk, so I used some points of lay on hands to just be like, "Hey, you all right, buddy?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm all right. Cool." So we'll probably have some fun next time now that we're settled into a city. But there was a lot of like quiet concern as we roll on the road, and we're just like, "Are we stopping? Yeah, let's not stop." Like literally, that's why I gave Karina like a con buff. I was like, "Oh, you're sleepy? Can you make it to the city? We're like an hour out. I really don't want to camp an hour away from the city, but I don't want to ditch our cart because we stumbled across a human trafficker who got very exploded, horrifically murdered by the sorcerer. She does that.
Boom.
Nukers, guys. But he had a hammer space secret compartment,
System survey
so we love the
complete.
cart. It's cool. It did have adamantine animal cages, but we had those torn off and repurposed. But so it's a rad cart, so I didn't want to like leave it in the woods, and I don't think anybody else in the party did either. So we had this conversation of like, let's push on, and then lots of fun stuff. So now we are in Hopperduk, the gnome and halfling party town / industrial town. I am carrying an unconscious catfolk, and next session we're gonna go yell at them about how there might be a Knucklevi around, and we'll see how that goes. Do you feel like that was enough of a recap for you, Axe?
The spirits have granted us new wisdom.
That was certainly all my thoughts on stuff.
Ooh, speculative hyperlane breaching. That's what I want.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Is that a tech thing?
Yeah.
You don't have to be sorry about asking. I know you said it before, and I did mention I might want to talk about it earlier. And we are doing the wrap it up.
Our ships have been improved. Our ships have been improved.
But yeah,
Our ships have been improved.
I think we should wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Our
And I gotta go pee, and we're
ships
like
have been
3 hours and
improved.
20 minutes in.
Our
Yeah, no, I think
ships
we're good.
have been
I don't think I have
improved.
anything else to talk about.
Our ships
All right,
have been
we'll be back
improved.
next week
Our
with.
ships have been improved.
Our
Actually,
when will the PS Plus games come out?
Our ships
Uh,
have
It's
been
not for a few
improved.
days in.
No,
So
it's
I
usually
will-
like the
Ships have
3rd
been
or something,
improved.
but they should be out
Our
by the
ships
time
have
we
been improved.
record
Yeah, they
next.
should be out by the
Our
middle of
ships
next
have been
week. I don't know when exactly my
Our
package will
ships
arrive,
have
so I
been
may or may not have
improved.
started 13 Sentinel being
Our
Scroll,
ships
whatever.
have been
Well,
improved.
some of those things will have happened, and we can
Our
talk about some
ships
stuff.
have been
Yeah.
improved.
We can
Our
continue to talk
ships
about other
have
stuff,
been
other
improved.
games. Like I said, I don't
Our
know if it'll be
ships
this
have
week,
been
but I do want to
improved.
try out the new mode in
Our
Civ.
ships have been improved.
But
Our
we'll hit you back
ships
up next
have
week.
been improved.
Thanks for
Our
tuning in.
ships
All
have been
right,
improved. Our
time
ships
for the
have been
usual outro
improved.
stuff. Hey,
Our ships have
If
been
you-
improved.
like this episode and you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give it a like if you liked it. Leave any comments you have in the comment section down below. We love your
The
comments.
spirits have
We
granted us
want
new
your
wisdom.
comments.
Give.
Hold on, let me do that with a better desk bang. We want your comments. That's probably going to get edited out, but I tried. Anyway,
Well, no, it won't because you were talking at the same time.
I suppose. Hopefully that carries properly. That's a really good way to think about punctuated for emphasis. Anyways, Tony Kaku.
Tony Kaku.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can get all our latest videos. Check out some stuff. I got some ideas for a couple of other bonusy type videos we might sneak out over the week as well.
Whoop, whoop.
Got some plans, percolating some stuff.
System survey complete.
So make sure to sub and hit that bell for notifications if you haven't already, so we always know we post a new video. For instance, I think I'm going to keep up the process of premiering What's Up videos, assuming, like I said, my
System
computer doesn't
survey
try and
complete.
kill me.
Mhm.
Scheduling those and making sure they're properly demarcated to the world. But hey, you'll always know when we're going to do a premiere if you hit that bell for notifications. Thumbs up, baby.
Hey.
You can also get our channel memberships. Join our channel, get some support. Like I said, maybe I can throw out some stuff to members in the next coming week. We'll see about stuff.
Improve your ships.
Get a cool star badge. It's definitely not made in like 5 seconds in MS Paint, and then I've hue shifted them. They're cool, okay? And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies. And it really helps us out. You can get audio format for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year. Though, obviously, if you're listening to this, it's like the 30th, the 31st, whatever. You know, you can wait until the new month to do that so you don't get double billed. That's okay. That's fine. Don't accidentally break your wallet or nothing.
You do you,
But
boo.
consider supporting us on Patreon so you can get access to stuff and support us and things. And we'll have fun future stuff to talk about. Actually, talking about future videos, I don't know when, but I did order another box of Yu-Gi-Oh! Boosters, the next set that's coming out early next month. I've already got my order in, so there will be another unboxing opening video. Those
Yay.
do okay-ish. I have been considering ordering another box of FGO wafers. I just have to wait for the right time, because they are a little expensive.
Mhm.
But I've been considering it. I may do another one of those. That video was also well received, and it got me sick vanilla wafers to eat. I think I talked about this before, but I was actually shocked by how tasty the wafers were. They're pretty basic, but they were on brand, so I was happy. Anyway, like I said, stay tuned to that stuff. We will see you guys next time.
Next
The
time.
spirits have granted us new wisdom.
Bye.
All right, cut it there.
System survey